Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Sarah Griffiths, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, John Kays, Tommy Swagnuts, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Muted, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
My wife probably knows, I don't.
Knightsbridge.
Okay, that's nice.
Very.
What did you have, Nathan? A flat white?
Why did I what?
Was it a flat white you had?
No.
That's the new one, right? Well, it's the most recent one. Starbucks had the flat white. I don't like it, though.
This is irritating. Why is it... How'd you stop it saying new mentions in Discord? That's irritating. I don't want that at the top all the time.
I got yelled at from QE for saying na 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 to Bob.
Okay. Why did you say na 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 to Bob?
What he was saying to you, I did it within 2 minutes. See if you can. So it sounded kindergartenish to me. So I went na 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 na. QE said he had something, and I threw him off track. So no more na 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 nas.
I'd just ignore him. Do whatever you want, Neil. He's not the boss of you.
No, but sometimes I know if you're trying to get something. Because when I listen back, I say, I shouldn't have jumped in over there. I shouldn't have jumped in over here. So I'm going to be tempered.
Well, you do what you need to do. But, you be you, Neil. Don't let it stress. By the same token, the same applies when I'm, moaning at you. It's normally to make a point. It's not actually because I want you to do anything or change anything or be any different. It's just a point in the moment.
Oh, I know. Like when QE said that, I think it was 5 minutes later, somebody asked to come on. I said, no, you can't. Nah, 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 nah. On his show.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of pain. I don't typically tune into other debate shows because, why would you? I've got my own and, I get enough of that particular aspect of the, let's call it a job, when I do it as a job. So typically I won't. But yesterday's discussion was about the pain that they might be experiencing. So I thought I'll just have a little listen. I went into Bev's show and listened to, I don't know what he's called, Pope something or other. He's a guy that's been here several times. Anyway, he made a point as soon as I tuned in of saying, I'm not triggered. Everyone's saying I'm triggered and I'm not, I'm calm. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that face value. You seem reasonably calm. But after about 15 minutes of listening to him, having geometry, just simple stuff laid out to him by Bev, he was very distressed about it. And he's just like, wow. This... I discussed it with my wife. I'm like, I want to make a note of this at this particular stage because I don't typically talk about flat earth proofs and what they are, but I laid out the elevation angled argument to her just so I could get to explaining, the problem with Highlander, because I was editing that video. And once I'd explained it to her and explained that there's no way around this for the anti-flat earthers, I said, look, this is going to cause them, I think, a lot of distress, a lot of mental anguish, and given that some of them have been around for a while, this might have quite detrimental knock-on effects for our opponents, to the point where I'm like, if in 6 months I'm mentioning this, just remember this conversation. Because typically, and then I laid out the black swan and she glazed over as I was halfway through it. But I was like, you can get around this argument to a unsuspecting, uninitiated, chanting fundy by saying refraction. Because if you just scratch the surface and hear that that is a rebuttal, then you'll just chant it and think that you've won, or enough to keep going without causing a mental breakdown. It doesn't matter to them that surface level refraction actually undoes the argument in its entirety, because that will require some explanation after the rebuttal's been delivered. Whereas in this instance, there isn't some surface level head in the sand rebuttal that you can give, so you can go la 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 after you've delivered it, and ignore the, well, actually that undoes your geometry. If it's refracted, it's not geometric, and that's your claim. You know, that again might need some further explanation. But when it comes to the elevation angle, them having to start with it flat and measure it flat, there's no way around that. And so far what we've had is to sidestep it or go or whistle past it. Here you go, here's the angle measurements we've already taken. Now tell us where my position is. Hold on. The angle measurements you've got, how'd you get them? Off a flat plane, because you can't get them any other way. So we're going to, as John was phrasing it yesterday, explain your globe belief that's been utilising a flat plane angle measurement to make it? You want me to explain that? No need. You've already proved a flat Earth when you took the angle measurements that you're asking us about, so that's it. Welcome to flat Earth. But that's right at the start of this discussion. That's the first thing they do in any of these claims. Measure an angle. So, yeah. Go on.
I was going to say, yeah, it changed the whole game. Definitely changed the whole game for them.
Shh, don't say 90.
Hey, Ted.
But I do think it's not a turning point so much, but a point in the discussion that's of note. Like, I think this is a punctuation mark that people should pay attention to. It's like, look, up until now, there's enough subterfuge offered up for the other arguments that we present. Gas pressure without a container, black swan, Coriolis, right at the bottom of that list. You know, there's enough disinformation, subterfuge, mud in the water, whatever you want to call it, to leave anybody who's watching, a cursory watcher, with enough misapprehensions and confusion about it to get on with their day, basically. But this argument doesn't give anybody that. It leaves nobody with any misapprehensions about what's being claimed. You know, you start with a flat plane. How'd you start without a flat plane? Start with a globe Earth. No, if we'd start with the globe Earth, we're going to correct it flat. It's like, this is going to cause some anguish. This is going to cause some pain. This might cause hospitalisation in some instances.
Yeah, game changing, definitely. I like that you keep reiterating that, because it sinks in. It gets through that there's no way around this. They can't do anything.
Whistling past the angle measurement that has to be taken on a flat plane is all they've done so far. Well, that's useless. That got both Bob humiliatingly telling us that triangles weren't needed, and McToon shouting out for offering up some globe patsy in the form of Bob, rather than facing the music for his crap flat Earth, proving globe claim to be evidence that he shuffled on to Bob to present to us. So, you know, that's embarrassing for both of them. Well, that's what you've got. Whistling past the flat Earth measurement you're using to ask us about where you are. All right, okay. You've proved a flat Earth before we've got anything done whatsoever.
What's up, Eli?
That much, huh? Wow.
Yeah, everything's great. City's fine.
Over the next couple of days, I've trimmed out the discussion with Highlander. I gave it precedent. Hey, Eli.
How you guys doing?
Very well, very well. So I gave the discussion with Highlander precedent over the discussion with Bob, because QE had said, can I trim out bits of that? And he did, pass them on to me after broadcasting them on his live stream. And I've broadcast them on yesterday's after show, which will come out on Tuesday for normies. I mean, muggles. I mean, non-members.
Highlander's just dumb. He's just dumb, Highlander.
Well, check it out. So that's the edit, because it's in a 3.5, 4 hour video. So I thought it takes precedent over Bob, because it's got Bob's face on the front of the live and after show thumbnail. QE's had it in his stream. It's going to be in a second stream, the edit that QE did. So I'm like, which one I'm going to dedicate my time to? Well, Highlander. Plus, I've done plenty of videos on Bob in the past for various other things, not in, too distant past. So my precedent was like, the argument got to the Fundy not being able to get around this elevation angle off a flat plane for Al-Biruni, got repeated 30 times to him. I like take out the chunkiest, juiciest bit and hack it down to a 20-minute video, which is what I've done. But that'll come out over the weekend. Just check it out if you see it. It's called Earth Must, in capitals, be measured flat, in capitals. There you go. Check it out.
I was a little leery about you giving him props for coming in, but then when I'm thinking about it, him and Highlander, they're the only ones that come in. So, I mean, and it gives us opportunity to expose their folly. So, yeah, give them props for coming in.
Absolutely. At least they've got the wherewithals to say, I've got an argument, I'm going to present it, or at least in Bob's case, a challenge that I think you should be fulfilling. It's like, well, fair enough. The door's open for that to happen. You might not necessarily have your request fulfilled. You're not necessarily going to kowtow to whatever it is you're demanding we do. But it doesn't mean you can't offer it up and present it. And Bob was given every opportunity to argue his case and tell us what it was. When it comes to, I've posted it in the Discord stream, it's like, you're here, we're talking, it's a discussion-based show. Most people aren't really watching the screen, they're listening. But then they don't want to tell you what the actual argument is. And that should speak volumes. If you're unaware, I don't pay attention to the live stream Discord chat with chit-chat memes and stuff flying by all the time. I just don't pay attention to it. It's too distracting. So I close it down and leave it, and then under no circumstances open it. But when someone comes in and they're in the chat and they want to talk, because that's what this show is, right? We're talking. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to present your verbalization of an argument. Not, here it is, go and spend your time reading it while you're actually broadcasting live. No, you've got to verbalize it to me. Now, if you don't want to and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that for you, well, why are you here then? I thought you wanted to embarrass us with the globe proof. If it's a really cracking globe proof, you're going to lay it out in the most concise terms you possibly can to convince every single one of the almost 200 people watching yesterday that the Earth's a sphere. You should be like, bang, 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 bang. Well, no.
I agree.
Well, you can take your time and read it if you will and get back to me. It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to convince a lot of people with your little gotcha that you're hoping to get me with, your blunt little tool.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to the chat either. But that was interesting that lady came in and she didn't even know what the scientific method was. So, yeah, we're getting it all. It's all making full circle.
So that's out on Tuesday for non-members on my second channel. Subscribe today to Nathan Oakley. That said, no, it'll be Monday, and this will be coming out after it because we're now recording the pre-show. So I don't know who I'm talking to. Become a member and you get this stuff early. Same goes for the Earth Must Be Measured Flat video. That's gone out to members already. So I'm not in a frame of mind to plug memberships today for any reason. I don't know why I'm plugging them so much. It's just one of those things. I've done a lot of members videos recently. And we're discussing that lady that came in yesterday, Flat Earth Goddess. I'm only halfway through listening back to that. Because at one point I'm trying to stress a point to her and she keeps whistling past it. And the point I'm making isn't what's being discussed. The example I'm using to make my point's being discussed about the scientific method and her misapprehensions about it. And that's not the overriding point. My overriding point is that she's asked about unification of a flat Earth in terms of the people in it. And I'm trying to lay down why that can't happen with an example of here's how it happened with science and why we use that and why we'd go forward to stress that. But we get You know, people putting up barriers every time we do it. Well, that's our main shtick, right? So, you know, people don't like our main shtick. Well, we can't unify with people and just say, oh, well, we'll just let it slide when they do the exact same thing we've been tricked with, and start talking about their science when they've got their man-made devices and their maths on the flat earth side. It's like, no, I can't tolerate that. Now, you might say that I'm insufferable and intolerant and, you know, that's your bad and you need to change. Well, okay. I don't care about the community. Sod you, a lot of you. If you see yourself as a community, then open your eyes a little bit wider and you'll realise that there is no community for a flat earth. There's people making YouTube videos, there's people watching YouTube videos, there's occasional meetups that, for the most part, I've taken part in, and it's nice when it's people that you would consider your friends. Other than that, it's extremely superficial. That's just how it is. So I can name on one hand the people I've met at conventions and the like that I've gone, that was memorable. Arwin's one of them. Hey, Arwin. I really enjoyed meeting up with Arwin, shooting the breeze, chit-chatting, standing outside, having a smoke. Fun. That was good. But
2019, yeah.
It was good, wasn't it? Preston the Flesh, same goes for Anthony, Patricia Steer, you name it. Those sorts of people, the people that I actually like, the people that I'd say, you're my friend, aren't you? Well, when you press the flesh with those people, I'm not saying I disliked meeting the people that I don't really know. It's just I don't really know them. Same as anybody. So, you know, you get the impression that, all right, I'm going to go and suddenly be part of a loving community of flat earthers who are all on the same page. It's like, no, at the surface level, when everyone's being quite superficial, it may seem that way at a convention. But in reality, that's not the case.
When Paula came in, did she kind of rebuke you, Nathan?
Yeah, I felt like I was being told off by my mom.
Okay, I agree. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, could you tell how sheepish I got when she started talking? I knew what I was in for. But Paula, to her credit, she's so subtle. She did it in a way that I knew I was getting an ear bending. Not an ear bending, just a, you know, when someone gives you they turn their head slightly and look at you and close one eye a little bit. Well,
Yeah, they pull
obviously,
your coat.
Yeah, well, she gave me the stony cold one eye and I couldn't even see her. But none of the audience would have been aware of that. It was super subtle. So, you know, I almost mentioned it, but I thought, no, why ruin the subtlety? Because that's a courtesy she didn't have to extend me. She could have just told me off. I was telling somebody off in an overt way to make a dramatic point, which I then had to justify because I realised it when Paula came in. But you know, that's the power of somebody like Paula, with a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience, where they can come in and without even really saying anything, make someone feel incredibly guilty and sheepish. Kudos to you, Paula. Thank you for not embarrassing me. Which she could have done also, and I wouldn't have had any cause whatsoever to moan about it. But she didn't, so, oh, yeah, Paula's ace. I love Paula, she's fantastic.
Is everybody on mute?
I don't know.
Fantastic, Nathan.
No, we're just listening to Nathan talk. It's peaceful.
Yeah,
Well,
Neil asked.
Kent Man was here, now he's gone.
I'm not gone. I'm here listening.
Yeah, I was right, just right at the end of my sentence. He was like, is no one else talking? It's like, well, I've only been paused for about 10 seconds after a long diatribe.
By the way, Meatloaf died.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. I didn't even know he was in Fight Club. I didn't know that was him.
Did you not know it was him? How can you not know that was Meatloaf?
It just got past me.
That guy?
Bob.
Yeah. No, you're singing a wrong song. At least sing Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
That's a hot song. That's a good song. What do you mean?
It's not what put him on the map, though. Paradise by the Dashboard Light was put on the map because it's about a guy trying to get with a girl in his car.
Meatloaf's I will do anything full of open brackets, but I won't do that closed brackets or bat out of a hell, as far as I'm concerned. That's meatloaf, as opposed to Bob with bitch tits in Fight Club.
Correct.
But not a bad actor, to be fair to him. I thought that was pretty good.
Do you know he was in over 65 movies?
Yeah, I did.
That's a lot.
Considering it's meatloaf, that's a rare find, Neil.
I like my meatloaf with a little bit of the red sauce on top.
That's not something we have here. I've never eaten meatloaf in my life. I don't even know what it is, really.
What? Meatloaf is good.
Nathan, are you a vegetarian
No.
but not vegan?
No.
No, I think
Nathan
it's
has to come
it's
to
good enough
America
to be
for the
vegetarian.
barbecue.
It's just not a thing we have in here, over here in England.
You don't have what in England?
Meatloaf. But I won't do that.
Which, by the way, talking about vegan, if you want to get a real lowdown about how much death is caused just by making tofu, go check out a Ted Nugent video.
Why?
He breaks it down. He breaks down just how much death is being caused just to make vegan dishes like tofu.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, why would I be interested?
No, I'm saying if anybody's claiming vegan, we're all supposed to be vegan and we're not supposed to eat meat. And the poor animal, well, take a look at how they freaking make tofu.
Well, those poor carrots. Poor carrots ripped out of the ground.
Well, God created seed-bearing fruit for man to eat, right? So tofu.
Yeah, that was
Forget
before.
about tofu. Just eat fruit, man.
No, eat meat. I'm a meat eater. I'm a carnivore.
Omnivore. Omnivore.
Hey, speaking of the source
No,
text
I'm a carnivore.
from where a claim, speaking of a source text from where a claim that specific seed-bearing fruits were given to man to eat, in that same source text, God himself gives meat to be eaten to humans, and then the apostles in the New Testament say that those who forbid to eat meat are actually preaching doctrines of demons. So it's very interesting.
That's
We actually
correct.
look at the whole Bible.
So
That's correct.
So you're saying vegans are kind of the devil?
If
No,
they
those that
preach
push
that
it.
this is moral, if they preach that it's moral and you're forbidden to eat meat, okay, then the Bible would classify that person as preaching a doctrine of demons.
Gotcha. I don't think I've ever come across a vegan that makes those demands. I'm sure they're out there. Extremist vegans.
Where does it say that? Do you have the verse that claims that?
Oh gosh, Nathan, how could you come across a vegan when it requires a meetup? Go on.
That was a good one, Ted.
Oh, dude, one of the most famous vegans like that in let's see, Nathan Thompson. He was doing the runs through all the servers and even doing some
That's
YouTube
correct.
videos telling people that they're wrong to eat meat.
That's right.
So
And then Paula had a debate with him and somebody else. I remember Nathan hosted it, and she held her own.
Yeah, she did. Of course, it's Paula.
okay,
And
so
then
I'll
at
quote you
some
the
point,
scripture off
I
the
was
top of my
like,
head. Said in the last days, people will give heed to seducing spirits and practicing doctrines of demons, forbidding to marry and forbidding to eat meat.
Forbidding to marry?
Yep.
What's that all about?
Yeah, very interesting, huh?
Very 1984.
Well, guess what? We already have a world religion that forbids certain members to get married specifically.
Really?
That's First
Catholic
Timothy
Church.
4. That's First Timothy 4.
What are you talking
Verses
about?
3
Like
through 8.
high caste and low caste? What do you mean?
Thank you, Neil.
It's not really stated in the Bible, like whether it's meaning its classifications are forbidden to marry. It just is a general statement that they will preach forbidding to marry. Whatever, however you take that is then up to you.
Okay. Very interesting.
Basically, from what my understanding is that what God calls good, they're saying don't do. And therefore you have these verses saying anything against what God says is coming from like a demonic source, because if God says it's good, why should not a person do it?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are aware that there are factions within modern political movements that push for the abolition of marriage altogether, because marriage as a traditional institution is exclusive because it only focuses on a man and a woman, like the scripture says. And so they want, men and men to be able to get married, women and women, older men and younger children, even horses and girls, toasters and dudes. So it's like if we just get rid of marriage altogether and people just do whatever they want, then nobody can feel like a second-class citizen to other classes of marriage. So there are groups that are pushing for the abolition of marriage completely.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's been in the news for a long time.
I don't have the news.
In
I
Luke
don't
it
keep up
says
to this.
Jesus
Go on. Sorry.
Jesus said, "The people of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and in the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage, and they can no longer die, for they are like the angels. They are God's children, since they are children of the resurrection." But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Arwin, Righteous Force, Neil, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Greetings.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you, Neil the Carnivore?
I'm very well. Good to have you all. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved adjacent?
Well, how would you do that, Nathan?
I wouldn't. You require two straight lines. An elevation angle is your baseline. It's straight, it's flat, needs a flat earth to utilise it. Angle measurements would require earth's flat to get one.
So Nathan,
so you and your angles are ruined then.
So Nathan, obviously there's only one way to answer that question. Where does that put the baller's ball?
Dead. They can't move forward with the claim of ball without first utilising the fact Earth is flat. So it's game over.
So those ballers who insist we live on a sphere can't base any of their doctrine from a sphere. They have to start flat.
Yeah, and if they claim that they're going to start spherical, they'll be correcting their assumed dip to a geometric horizon we debunked with the black swan. Well, correcting it because it's wrong. They'll make it flat.
Is that why they don't like the word triangle and 90?
Yeah, you'll have to reach the point in the argument where you'll literally deny that a triangle is required when doing triangulation.
And what does 90 say to them? It's a perpendicular of two straight lines.
Yeah, you don't have that on a sphere. Every line that would be perpendicular when you're talking about the GP zenith position of a star to the ground, they wouldn't be lining up with your straight line measurement of an angle to it unless the ground was flat. Further to that, you couldn't measure the angle at all unless the ground was flat. So it all has to be parallel. And if you've got a dip with the sphere-Earth assumption below the parallel line that the Earth actually has, then you're going to be correcting that and making it flat first.
So then
What about the claim that they only need a vertical, that they can get the off angle from a vertical at their position? What about
How do you
that
establish,
claim?
zenith? How do you establish a zenith? You're going to need a flat plane for that.
just a horizontal?
Right, a right angle to horizontal.
Yep.
Right, so you're going to need a horizontal to establish your zenith. So first comes the horizontal plane, then comes your zenith. Now, if you want to measure the angle in the star from the zenith, which is also done, then you still have to minus it from 90 to get it onto the ground.
Yeah. That's why dip correction is not needed with a bubble sextant or an artificial horizon, because what does a bubble tell you?
Whether it's level or not, whether or not it's flat.
Yeah. So when you hold a bubble sextant and the bubble is in the center, that means you got true horizontal, which gives you true vertical. There's your right angle.
So you're going to need a flat plane for that. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, black swan.
Right on. Black swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the geometric horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the imagery we have labelled black swan shows the horizon beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere, and the horizon is not Earth curve. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
That's something we would all experience if it was actually happening.
Tim Osman in my chat today at the Early Bird Show was saying again how Bob's gyroscope proved the Earth was spinning.
So the globe claims we have 15 degrees an hour drift. That's Earth turning underneath an inertial reference frame observed from the non-inertial turning Earth as drift. That's things drifting away, seeming to because you're turning underneath. So that's an apparent effect, something you would see happening, and we don't. Nothing's drifting away. And when we put this to them, they'll give us videos like the one on screen now and say, look, the guy's not drifting. It's like, this is an example of a man not drifting given to me by Simon Dan with the strapline, you and your reference frames are ruined. Because the globe claims there's two of them and we will see drift at 15 degrees an hour. When we point out as Flat Earth that there is no drift visible, we're told, with examples like this, we wouldn't expect to see any of the globe's claim of drift.
Well, if it's drifting, moving under the gyro, wouldn't it drift and move under a football and the airplane and the hot air balloon?
Yeah, that's the claim. From your vantage point turning beneath a hot air balloon, you will experience an apparent deviation of the hot air balloon because you're turning beneath it. We don't see that happening. So we point out we don't see Coriolis drift. And they tell us, from the anti-flat earth side, why would you expect to see drift?
So it must be something within the apparatus that Bob's picked up, because it doesn't vet out when you do other things and try to prove that the Earth is turning.
Who cares? It's a man-made device. If you want to make an assertion so fundamental to the entire ground of every body's Earth that they're standing on moving at a rate of 15 degrees an hour with a rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, that's a fairly substantial claim to have to back in the first instance. Now, if that's the case, I want to be exploring the natural phenomena that occurs as a result of that claimed occurrence. Well, if you can't show me any natural phenomena as a result of that claimed occurrence, there isn't an occurrence to look at. Now, if you say, look at my man-made device and what it does, I'll say, that's not a naturally occurring phenomena that is induced as a result of Earth turning as a non-inertial turning reference frame beneath an inertial reference frame to give us Coriolis effect. That is actually what you claim the globe Earth will do. So we're going to see Coriolis drift, according to the globe Earth, and we don't. So we don't see the claim of globe Earth Coriolis effect. It's as simple as that.
Right, and actually, a focal pendulum in the southern hemisphere still moves in a clockwise rotation as well, when it should be counterclockwise due to being in the opposite hemisphere.
Should it? When we beg the question that we're on a spherical surface with the word hemisphere, we should assume that it will do a particular thing. It's just a pendulum.
Right, it is just a pendulum, but if the Earth was a globe, spinning from west to east, being in the northern, the way that it's oriented, it would in the northern hemisphere it would spin clockwise, and then in the southern hemisphere, because it's in the opposite direction, it would spin clockwise, but they both spin, or counterclockwise, but they both spin clockwise.
Relative.
Sounds like Globiolis effect.
That's relative. Okay, let's just try and break this down, because as much as you can try and pick apart their man-made device parlor trick that they're utilising to make the claim Earth is a non-inertial turning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to cause the drift that we can see apparent in the pendulum in this example. So, they're claiming as the pendulum swings, it knocks over the dominoes because Earth is turning beneath the pendulum. It swings back and forth only, and knocks over the dominoes because the ground is moving. So, the claim from the pendulum is the ground moves beneath the pendulum because it's a separate reference frame. If the ground moves under the pendulum, as they claim it does, then the ground moves under a hot air balloon, because it would also be in the inertial reference frame. It's left the ground. Does that drift? No, it does not. But an aeroplane that's in the air for a significant period of time, does that experience the ground turning beneath the aeroplane, like it's claimed to turn beneath the pendulum? No, it does not. So what are we left with? Just the parlour trick assertion that the Earth turns beneath the pendulum, but it doesn't turn beneath anything else. Now, when Neil deGrasse Tyson says, oh yeah, it turns beneath the football, it curved through the goal because the ground turned beneath the football, causing an apparent drift and causing it to go through the goal. Well, if the ground turns beneath the football, as Neil deGrasse Tyson is asserting with that claim, then the ground turns beneath the blimp filming the game. And you'd notice, but it doesn't. The ground is not turning beneath a blimp, or a hot air balloon, or an aeroplane, or a helicopter, or a drone, or a balloon that you let go of. Earth's not turning beneath anything. It only turns beneath their claimed parlour trick example, or Neil deGrasse football example. Well, it's in the air for a split second. The blimp's hovering above the stadium for a significant period of time, and no one's experiencing the Earth turn underneath it. If they were, the blimp would just wait for the next country along to come along, next state along. All right, what's happening? Oh, well, the ground's drifting beneath us at 15 degrees an hour. At this rate, it's moving away about 450 miles an hour, underneath us as we hover. Obviously, we're not moving, it's just the ground moving beneath us, so anybody watching us from the ground sees us seeming to drift away. But we're really stationary, it's just the ground moving beneath us, said no blimp operator ever, because it does not happen. Roll on the anti-flat earthers. We wouldn't expect the Earth to turn underneath the blimp, or the hot air balloon, or the drone. Yeah, you would, that's Coriolis effect, just doesn't happen.
Dude, it's more silly than that when they try to rebut your point and say that it's not about the Earth turning underneath, but that actually the pendulum is swinging into a different latitude. And since latitudes are different concentric ring sizes, they now have a different rim velocity. And because they have a different rim velocity, that pendulum swinging 2 feet to the right is imparted in a different speed reference frame. Absolutely silly.
Doesn't matter. Still the same claim. While they try and deviate it into moving the position of a pendulum that's swinging fixed to a ceiling. Yeah, okay. But that's because you're claiming there's 2 reference frames to show drift then. Earth turning underneath as you move your latitude. Yeah, okay. That's still 2 reference frames you're claiming though, isn't it? Globe Earth or anti-flat earther. Okay. Yeah, that would mean we've got drift. That's the claim. Yeah, we understand what Coriolis' claim is. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
only with the
absolutely.
pendulum. Only with the parlour trick. Now, a ball that naturally curves when you throw it, it's a football, can be asserted by magician Neil deGrasse Tyson to be a result of the effect of Earth turning underneath the football. But as I say, that would directly translate into not only a football, but a drone, hot air balloon, blimp, aeroplane, anything that's left the ground. Because it leaves the ground and it, according to the claim, continues to turn underneath. Just doesn't get experienced by anything other than the parlour trick and, in the case of Neil, the ball.
Absolutely, and most globers will omit the fact that the centrifugal force counteracting the alleged spin force, so you have quote unquote gravity allegedly pulling things in while centrifugal force is throwing things out. The problem is that they only use center-based radius math, when in actuality, the radius and the centrifugal force of the rim velocity are 2 different vectors. You will never see a glober account for that differential in vector and provide the force that's there, because guess what that force would do? It would be a constant change in the angular direction of the supposed pendulum, meaning that the pendulum would indeed start itself. It would not need to be manually started by the perpetrator of the parlor trick.
When reality shows them not only having to start it, but having to fiddle around with it to get it to work in the way they want it to. So it's just a parlour trick. it doesn't prove Earth spinning underneath stuff as a second reference frame. If it did, you'd bloody notice, because your flight times would be shortened. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles, which typically takes 4.5 hours, would only take an hour and a half, because Earth would be turning underneath the plane, and that does not happen. But that's the claim. Earth turns underneath anything in the inertial reference frame, like a pendulum. It's not attached, it's swinging back and forth. Well, that's an inertial reference frame that the swing takes place in. So when it drifts, it's not really drifting, it's the ground beneath it turning, according to the claim. So the claim makes it clear Earth's turning beneath stuff. No, it ain't. It's just that simple. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Any scientific evidence of gravity, as you mentioned it?
There's no phenomenon.
Any single
Well, the etymology of the word science means to know. I see things fall. I know things fall. Therefore, gravity's true.
Releases helium balloon to the gag track of clowns. Dun 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 little dun 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 little dun dun dun. Bye bye balloon. Any single
Gases don't count.
What don't count?
Gases don't count.
No, they don't. They're inanimate. Why would they be counting anything?
Well, that's what they would say. Like, we're not talking about gases. We're talking about objects, things with weight. They all go down. Nothing else goes up.
Things with weight? What about gases?
That's what I said. They exclude gases. They said gases don't count. We're talking about inanimate objects, like a hammer or a rock.
Gas consists of stuff. It's matter. So just because they've got an arbitrarily assigned downward vector to their weight means that they can't ascribe their arbitrarily ascribed downward vector to gas. That's all it means. Doesn't mean that gas isn't stuff. It is.
What they actually mean to say is it only applies to things heavier than the medium.
Yeah, if the medium happens to be gas. Yeah, but even if you take it in there, because if you have an empty chamber, a vacuum, and you introduce a gas to it, some of them will actually assert that the gas will go down, go boom boom in the chamber, form a puddle. Even though gas behaviour is that it expands in all directions, all vectors, to fill the availability of volume that it has to fill. Ergo, if the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill that space, as it expands in all directions to fill whatever volume it's got, and the sky vacuum space is claimed to be a volume that the gas could fill. So we'd all be dead. Any evidence that you can have the gas pressure, which we are all breathing, without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, but what the guy was telling me, just to go back real quick, he seems to believe that something is stopping. There is always something that's going to stop it. Like the floor is stopping us. Otherwise, we'd keep going down and down and down, trying to assert a pull to the center of the earth. But when you say something like a helium balloon, they don't acknowledge that.
What's their problem? Okay, sorry, Fundy. You deny gas.
I agree.
Well, wouldn't you be begging the question of a physical container, though?
No, it's an antecedent consequent relationship. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
That's a fact.
Can you show me a container?
Can I show you the container? No, I don't know what the sky is.
A physical antecedent?
Yeah, I absolutely guarantee you that any circumstance that has gas pressure in the demonstration, there will be containment. You can't demonstrate it without. So if you're challenging that in regards to it being an antecedent, all you need to do to challenge that is show gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container. The moment you show gas pressure without a container, it's no longer the necessary antecedent.
I looked further into my dome claim, so I will not claim a dome any longer. I will claim containment.
Ah, you pushover.
Finally.
Oh, because I can't get a distinct shape of a dome
See,
anywhere that I read.
peer pressure and bullying does work. They were all wrong.
No, I'm not saying dome anymore, but I will say containment and I will say firmament.
Firmament?
day,
Oh, what? What's that? What's a firmament? That's a new one. Go ahead. What's that?
a tangible object.
What's that, Eli?
Yeah, tangible surface.
A thing.
It's something very strong because in the Bible it says it holds the waters from above.
Right, Neil, all you've done is sidestepped your original dome claim and now called it firmament rather than dome.
Firmament is fine. Firmament is fine in argumentation if unless you. I'm just saying, firmament, the word itself means something tangible. So, well, I know we were talking about if it's tangible, it means you can touch it. I mean, I don't know. Forget it.
Yeah, but then I'd be contradicting myself because I always say if you can't validate it, you can't claim it. So I can't validate it because I can't touch it.
Can you mute, Eli? While you're not talking, we can't hear Neil.
So unless I can validate it, I mean, it should be everybody's stance too. Unless it can be validated, then we shouldn't claim it, correct?
But that's up to you, Neil. That's your prerogative, right? But what we tried to illustrate to you the other day was that there's no get out once you've claimed it to not be trying to validate it if challenged to do so by your opponent. And that is where the focus will go immediately, rather than the fact that you can't have gas pressure without a container and the sky is claimed to be an empty space available for the gas we breathe to fill. Nothing stopping it, nothing for it to press upon, just an empty space for it to fill, making space fake. That won't be the focus if you say dome or firmament. It'll be prove your firmament, prove your dome. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing that if you've claimed it. Up to you if you want to. It's up to you. That's your prerogative.
I will get to the bottom of what the sky is one of these days.
I wish you every success. Tell me if you find out. Great. I'd love to know.
It works better when you get to the top of it.
He said I'll get to the bottom of what the sky is. Very good.
I didn't want to say it.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone. I have something to present in a few minutes, Nathan.
Okay, let's rattle our way through the rest of housekeeping. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Where to start?
At the centre. You'll need R for that, though.
Even they say that's assumed. Everything about their model is assumed. They assume on the sphere. They assume the measurements are coming from the center. They assume the distant lights are so far away to infinity that they come in parallel. None of this is true. It's all assumption. The whole globe model is built on assumption.
No, Bev, try thinking. Shout out to him. Calls it being model afflicted, or seriously model afflicted.
I like the paper mache.
Okay, so that's a wakey example where wakey described seeing the globe as a fairly solid, robust looking model, a sphere that is physically in front of you. And you get a bit closer to it and look, and you go, oh, I'm just going to have a little touch. So you press it, and your finger goes right through immediately. You know, whoa, it's made of paper. And then you put your eye up to it, look through, and there's someone on the other side who's also poked a hole through, looking back at you. And you're like, whoa, this thing's completely empty. There's nothing in it. It's just a flimsy model. If enough holes get poked into this, it's going to fall to pieces. So yeah, that's a wakey example.
They also beg the question of volcanoes. Their hole goes all the way to the center of the Earth as well.
No, it doesn't. Their volcanoes don't go to the centre of Earth. That's a misconception about their model.
Yeah, I never heard that.
It's in their nonsense stories, which have got no validation. They're claiming tectonic subduction, which is where you've got one plate going under the other, and where those plates will meet, you've got a ring called the Ring of Fire. And the submersion effect creates enough friction to melt the rock to create little pockets underneath the volcanoes, which eventually reach a certain pressure and then erupt. That's their current rhetoric. That's the story as it stands. And it's true because they made it up themselves.
There's been a lot of talk about that Himawari footage of the volcano. Like, Globe is saying this proves a sphere Earth.
All right. From space? A sky vacuum? No. If the sky was a vacuum to be a area for Himawari to broadcast images of a sphere Earth back from, then the gas we're all breathing currently would vacate into the same area that the Himawari is in, because it's in a space, an empty volume, for the gas we're breathing to fill. So we'd all be dead if those images were real. They are not. They have been broadcast to us from a place that doesn't exist. That would be outer space. A sky vacuum.
Really?
And
I thought that
they'll
the footage
come back.
was more close to actually being like a sat-the-loon camera footage. Well, it
That's
looks
not
pretty
the
close.
It doesn't
by,
matter
not
what
far
we.
away.
No. I'm not going to have you make apologetics for their claimed story. The story is the Himawari is in space. Space is fake. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the area the Himawari is claimed to be in. Your apologetics, claiming it might be a sat-the-loon, is irrelevant. It's not claimed to be a sat-the-loon in our sphere-shaped air, which is what it would be if it was. We haven't got sphere-shaped air. We haven't got atmosphere. We haven't got a sky vacuum. Space is fake. No, we haven't got images from the Himawari of a sphere Earth. That's total nonsense.
I agree to
Well,
that.
what
But
I
there
said-
was real footage. That's the point. And I think that the real footage was probably taken through a sat-the-loon hanging there.
Have you seen the footage?
That's what I was going to say, Arwen. Hold on. People are saying that. People are saying that there's thousands of footage from regular people that match what the Himawari put forth.
Let me get it straight.
Yeah.
Regular people in space matching
No,
the
on the
Himawari
ground.
from space, right?
No, filming it on the ground and then the supposed Himawari footage matched it perfectly. So there
see.
was probably
Gotcha.
live camera
Exactly.
rolling
Gotcha. Okay.
at the time.
So by comparison, the Wicked Witch in Narnia has a magic crystal ball. And, in the crystal ball, yeah, I've got video footage of this, Neil. Don't mock it before you've heard it. In the video
you
footage,
don't.
it shows. Yeah, I do. Call me a liar. How dare you?
You're
This is
lying.
all true because I'm making it up myself as I go along. Excuse me. So, while she sat in front of the crystal ball, she's filmed from several angles, nothing up her sleeves, and she films the Himawari going off in real time. Who's doing that? Eli.
Sorry.
So she's being filmed with her real-time crystal ball footage from Narnia of the Himawari, and it matched perfectly. Not only perfectly, better than the Himawari matched. Ergo, Narnia is real.
So the U-2 spy plane that took pictures from very, very high altitude, that's not being used for these images
Doesn't
anymore?
matter. You're missing the point.
Also,
You're missing the point.
No, I didn't.
no,
miss
we're
the point.
bypassing it.
Yeah, intentionally. You're
I
both
don't
Nobody's
mind.
buggers.
claiming there's a satellite up there except for boltards, right? We're just saying we saw the footage. The footage is there. It was taken.
No.
It was taken
What
live.
you're doing is saying, but what about the people who do have crystal balls here on planet
No,
Earth?
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's what you are doing.
No, they got a U-2
No, that's
spy
not what
plane.
we. That's not even what Neil was saying. We were just saying some things have been recorded. It was called the Himawari. That's what they called it. It wasn't the Himawari. There is no Himawari, but there's something up there that recorded it. I've seen the footage.
So what?
It's there.
So what?
So that's interesting. There is
So you've
hanging
seen an
something
image
is
of a
hanging up there,
volcano.
recording
So-
it live.
Okay, so we got footage of volcanoes being juxtaposed compared to images from space, from the Himawari. So who cares? All that's ever going to be done is the comparison between the images from space matching the real footage that can be validated from a real place that does exist with gas pressure. So all the images, let's just compare what the difference is between Himawari images and all the others you're trying to describe that may or may not have come from satelloons, right? Let's compare. Am I correct in saying that all of the ones that you deem as real were taken in an environment that's pressurized?
Yeah.
Was the Himawari in an environment that was pressurized?
I don't think the Himawari exists.
No, that's because it's not in an area they claim that is an area of volume the gas we breathe could fill. An area devoid of pressure called a vacuum. Outer space, that's where it's claimed to be. We'd all be dead.
Yeah, that's obvious. We're saying that when you're on an airplane at 30,000 feet and look down on a clear day with no clouds underneath you, you see similar things. And so obviously this was taken within a gas pressure environment. It could have been like a spy plane. There could be something, but it's not from space, that's for sure.
Is all that matters in terms of their claim. Because they're saying Himawari shows a ball, Himawari shows volcano, therefore Himawari's ball is true. That's the claim, basically.
Yeah, but you destroyed that. But you destroyed that claim with your argument. So then once that's over, you say, well, how did they get that top view? Easy. Within the container, air pressure in this Earth system.
No.
Just like we've seen planes at high altitude take pictures.
No. When someone says
What
to
do you
me,
know?
how did they get this view? I go, I couldn't care less. Why are you asking me how they did this? They're lying to you, but you now ask me how they are lying to you? Go ask them. And when you're there, tell them they're lying sons of you-know-whats, because they've lied to you about where the images came from. Does it matter how the deception was perpetrated? If some magician's on stage making cards disappear, and you turn to the person next to you and go, it's just a magic trick, they didn't really disappear. And they go, well, how did he do it then? And you go, I don't know. But I know cards can't vanish into nothing. That's a fact. They go, well, I just watched it happen. No, you didn't. You watched a magic trick. Well, if you can't tell me how the magic trick works, then it's not a magic trick. No, I don't need to explain how they performed their magic trick. Or how the images they do have are actually real images because they've come from satelloons. Why would I be justifying that? The claim is, Earth's a sphere, Himawari proves it. How? Well, because the images of volcanoes from Himawari match the ones we've got from the ground.
Yeah, but that's just about as a legitimate argument as, look, science proves it's a ball because we got mobile phones and laptops. That's like, it's already so far into ball la la land. Doesn't really matter what they say. We were just interested in this footage having been filmed at a high altitude and that they said was from the Himawari, which I do not buy that part. But the footage was interesting.
Okay, Brian, thank God. Do you want to present?
Yeah, I'll stay talking on my phone, but I'll present on my computer, Nathan.
Okay, cool.
So if you're ready to go, this is going to take a little bit of reading, and I'm going to have to go through a few definitions of something. But it won't take too long. It'll only be maybe 7 or 8 minutes. Okay. You all hear me loud and clear, yeah? Because I'm having some internet issues. So I make sure.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear. The audience can certainly hear, which is the most important thing.
Yeah,
okay,
you're good.
Just making sure, because my internet is a bit funny today. So, okay, this is what I'm going to be reading out of first. Okay, I'm going to go down. This is Quartermaster 3 and 2, Navy training courses. Quartermaster 3 and 2, Volume 1, prepared by Bureau of Naval Personnel. Navy training courses, United States Government Printing Office, Washington, 1954. So this is from the U.S. Navy, 1954, from what I can tell. Okay, now I'm just going to go down. Now, so I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. Yeah, too big. That size. So you can all see it. Now I'm going to read down a bit, and you're welcome to stop me as I'm reading down if there's anything you want to point out.
Sorry, you want
Okay.
you want interruptions as you go down the way?
Well, only you, Nathan. Otherwise, everyone will be popping in. Just
Okay.
if there's anything you spot that you want to, yeah, it's okay. Right. Okay. Elementary navigation. The rest of this chapter is going to approach actual navigation only in the most general way. To begin with, we know that a fix by celestial observation is the point at which two or more lines of position intersect. Now, what is a celestial line of position? To understand what this is, we must first grasp the concept of circles of equal altitude. Let's imagine a straight line drawn from a celestial body, perpendicular to the surface of the Earth. Where this line intersects the Earth is the geographical position, GP, of the star. If you were standing at this point, the GP of the star, and took a sight, you'd get an altitude of 90 degrees. The star, in other words, is in your zenith, right? That's an important word, zenith. Now, suppose you have a body who is standing exactly 1 nautical mile, 1 minute of arc, away from you. You can see that he's also 1 nautical mile, 1 minute of arc away from the star's GP. Further, his zenith is 1 minute of arc away from the star's position on the celestial sphere. The difference between the zenith of the GP of a body and the zenith of an observer is called the zenith distance. Now, I'm going to read that again. The difference between the zenith of the GP of a body and the zenith of an observer is called the zenith distance. Okay. One other thing I want to point out before we go further: the 1 minute of arc, right? That is within the sextant, and it also can be termed as a pre-assumption of a curved sky, but that's not what we measure.
Okay, just stop here, just before we move on, just because that is such an important point. So what Brian's just described is 2 positions. One is a star and the other is you. Now, if you imagine from your position drawing a line directly up through your head up to the sky, yeah, and then for the star, a line drop down with a plumb, if you will, all the way to the ground. Now, both of those are 90 degree to the ground. So for them to both be parallel, these 2 zeniths, these 2 lines, you have to have a flat Earth between the 2. And they can't be parallel if there's a curved Earth between the 2. So both zeniths are parallel with one another, only achievable on a flat plane. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine, Nathan. That's good. That's necessary. Okay. If your body, takes a sight of this star just as you do, the altitude he gets will differ from yours by 1 minute. As altitude always equals 90 degrees, right? You can't have 90 degrees without a 90. Minus zenith distance. The sight he takes will read 89 degrees, 59 minutes. So the person that's 1 minute of degree away from the GP of the star will be 1 nautical mile away from the GP of the star. So his reading to the star is going to be 89 degrees, 59 minutes. Let's stop right here and look at a significant fact. As long as your body stays exactly 1 mile away, he can be in any direction from you. In other words, your position is the center of a circle. Your body could be any place on that circle and get the same 89 degrees, 59 minutes sextant altitude. He's on a circle of equal altitude. This circle of equal altitude is a celestial line of position. Your body is somewhere on it. On every point of the circumference of this circle, the altitude of the star is the same. From the star's GP, any number of circles of equal altitude spread out as altitude decreases with distance of the observer from the GP. The maximum limit, of course, would be about 5,400 nautical miles, 5,400 minutes of degree or arc from the GP, at which point the star would be seen on the horizon at 0 altitude. Altitude at this limit would have decreased the entire 90 degrees, 5,400 minutes possible. Now let's look back to fixes. It would seem that we could use the intersection of a circle of equal altitude of one body with a circle of equal altitude of another to get a fix by celestial navigation. After all, we can locate the latitude and longitude of the GP by the declination and GHA of the star. by subtracting the altitude from 90 degrees and changing the result to nautical miles, we should be able to draw a circle of equal altitude around the GP. So this is very important. By subtracting the altitude from 90 degrees, so you can't subtract from 90 degrees without a 90-degree angle, right? You need a right angle to do that, right? And changing the result to nautical miles, we should be able to draw a circle of equal altitude around the GP. So no matter what your minutes of degree reading is, it would between the co-altitudes of your zenith, right, of your zeniths, then that will always equal the same exact amount of distance on the surface of the Earth in nautical miles. Okay, so we all understand that. So I'm going to just one more time go through it. If between the co-altitudes of the observer zenith and the zenith of the star is, let's say, 100 nautical miles, or sorry, 100 minutes of degree, then on the ground below that, the distance on the ground between those two zeniths will also be 100 nautical miles. So they're equal. The minutes of degree across the sky is always equals, well, basically it translates or transforms into 100, let's say 100 minutes of degree transforms into 100 nautical miles. So consequently, they are always equal each other. So you can't. So your nautical mile distance will always equal your minutes of degree distance. Always. It will never not do that. Now that can only happen under one particular circumstance. That is using two 90-degree angles and a flat plane, which I will show in a minute. Now I just need to show some definitions. These are zenith definitions. I look for astronomy zenith definitions to get it as close as possible to what zenith would be. Now, there's a bit of nonsense in here, but I'm only going to read the important parts. So from Britannica, zenith, point on the celestial sphere directly above an observer on the Earth. The point 180 degrees opposite the zenith, right? Sorry, mind that part. But the important part is the point, zenith, point on the celestial sphere directly above an observer on the Earth, right? That's the important part. It's in the sky. The zenith is above you, you're on the Earth, or the GP of the star is on the Earth, and the zenith is above that. Second one, okay, the zenith, the point on the celestial sphere that is directly above the observer, the upper region of the sky, the highest point above the observer's horizon attained by a celestial body. So they're detailing the zenith of a star there with the third one, the highest point above the observer's horizon attained by a celestial body. So that would be the GP that basically describing there. Okay, zenith. The zenith is the point on the celestial sphere directly overhead the observer. Right, it has an altitude of plus 90 degrees in the horizontal coordinate system. Right, so it's directly above. Zenith. Zenith means the high point. It comes from astronomy, where it describes the highest point on an arc traveled by a star or a planet or other celestial body. So that is important because it's all pointing towards zeniths being up in the sky, right? So your zenith as an observer and the zenith of the star are both in the sky. So let's see, zenith, right? The zenith, right? This is from graphics.stanford.edu. The zenith is the point on the celestial sphere directly above an observer on the Earth, right? So directly above, always above in the sky. The zenith is always above the surface of the Earth. Okay, all right. Oxford reference, right? Quick reference: zenith, the point on the celestial sphere directly above the observer. Okay, directly above, always above. Now, I'm going to show something here. So, observer zenith, right here. Zenith of star over here. Observer standing here. GP of star over here. Just annotate this. All right. Take this line. Straighten it out. And I just change the color to red so it can be seen. Okay. So this red line, right? This red line depicts the zenith distance, the co-altitude, zenith distance. So let's just say that is that red line from this zenith here, which is observer zenith, to the zenith of the star, let's say that's 100 minutes of degree. Then when that comes down to the Earth, that will be a 100 minutes of 100 nautical miles along the surface of the Earth. So the zenith distance between the two zeniths will always match, will always translate all the minutes of degree exactly into nautical miles on the ground. So the minutes of degree measurement across the sky between the two zeniths will always become an exact replica in nautical miles on the surface of the Earth. And the reason for that is because you have to use 90-degree angles, and you have to use you need to use a right angle and the base of that right angle to get your distance to the GP of the star. So you need a right angle. I'm just going to show what I mean. So this will be your right angle, right? So the base has to be all the way. If that's 100 nautical miles, then from here to here, that has to be a flat plane, right? That's how you can't achieve it any other way. For this to be, for this angle here to be 100 minutes of degree, then this means that this baseline, it has to be flat for it to be 100 nautical miles.
100 is 1 degree for every 69 miles, right?
I just thrown out 100 just 100 minutes of degree. It doesn't matter, just an average, just any distance or any amount of minutes. Could be 4 minutes of degree. I don't care.
Okay, so just to clear that up, I just want to clear that up, just so I don't want people saying he doesn't understand that 1 degree gives him 69 miles. Well, no, he does. He's just saying let's just have it 1-to-1 for the ease of the description. If it's 1 degree for 1 mile, then 1 degree in the sky, as you measure it as an angle through the sextant to the star, that's 1 degree off your zenith, well, that will translate down onto the ground in reality as 69 miles, but in this example as 1 mile, just to keep the maths easy, right?
Yeah, well, I would say, I'm not using degrees on purpose. I'm using minutes of degree, because it's the minutes of degree that, for anyone that has anything to say, it's the minutes of degree that translates and transforms into nautical miles. So if this red line represents 100 minutes of degree, then that means that below it will represent on the ground 100 nautical miles. The only way that can work is with a box type system, with 2 90-degree angles. So you're talking 4 90-degree angles basically, because this is a 90-degree angle here at the observer. There's another 90-degree angle at the GP of the star. You basically have another 90-degree angle at the zenith of the star and another one at the observer zenith. So you have 4 90-degree angles working basically for this to happen. So the whole point is that this requires.
I just want to reiterate that point, because I've sort of undermined you a little bit just by nitpicking. So Brian's point isn't necessarily about the translation of the numbers onto the ground. It's irrelevant. It's just saying you've got to have parallels, you've got to have flat Earth, you've got to have 90 degrees. All of these things to give you a triangle are necessitated by a flat plane, rather than any of the numbers which aren't that relevant. Go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. Now I'm going to show something else. Now that and zeniths are always above. Always above. Your zeniths are always above. As I showed earlier, every single definition for a zenith is always above. Okay, it's always in the sky. That's where the zenith exists. Now, this will be zeniths on a curved surface. This will be the zenith distance on a curved surface, if it was possible to do this on a curved surface, which it isn't. But even if you made two fantasy tangent planes and you ended up with 2 zeniths, then this will be your zenith distance from this point to this point. But the problem is, when that's translated down, it won't translate correctly, because the distance goes beyond what the base of the zeniths are. So it completely destroys their model, because they can't. Because in reality, you have to have parallel zeniths for this to work. It won't work with diverging zeniths. That's the problem.
Exactly. So when I reiterated earlier that these 2 lines, just to keep this on screen for a second, would come down from your position, or from the zenith down to your position, or from your position up to your zenith, and parallel with that has to be the star and its zenith on the ground, which is what Brian's showing next to me. So Brian's showing how, no matter where or how far these 2 points are apart, they've always got a line that runs parallel with 90 degrees to it. So if your if you can move that line that you were just moving halfway down for me, Brian. If you're in the sky and you're using an artificial horizon or a bubble sextant, it makes no difference once you establish this line, because it will always run parallel and give you a 90 degree to the zenith as star. That will also translate down onto the ground, but that's not necessary. There's no correction needed because you've still got your 90 degrees intact. Whereas on this depiction on the right, when you've got a curved surface beneath, you no longer have that effect working. You can't adjust because these two lines are no longer parallel with each other. Neither give you 90 degrees, so none of the maths works. It can't work on a curved surface. It has to be flat to do this. It's as simple as that. If you start with a sphere, so if you say, okay, well, no, we have got this scenario, as Brian alluded to a little bit, you're going to have to draw out flat surfaces on them. But when you do draw a tangent plane, you have to correct that. They call it the dip to the geometric horizon. We've debunked that with the black swan, by the way. Nevertheless, they've got a claimed dip with a tangent plane to a horizon that's been debunked. And when they have that, they correct the dip and make it flat. So in other words, we've got a fundy sphere belief with a geometric horizon that only exists in maths, and we're going to correct that to be a flat plane so that it works in the manner in the left-hand depiction. Do you want to add anything else, Brian? Excellent, by the way. Thank you. If not,
Yeah, outstanding.
Thank you. No, this is just the reason I'm focusing on the word zenith so much is because I'm not going to go into the details now, but there's a globe kind of they try to have a get out of this, but it means to deny what a zenith is. It's a complete it's only a mathematical nonsense. But in reality, they in their model they always have diverging zeniths. You can't not have diverging zeniths on a curved surface. So consequently, this cannot work, and this does work all the time, but it can't work on a curved surface. It requires a flat plane, 90-degree angles.
In
you can't make this work on a curved surface.
In the pre-show, we were talking about the pain that this will cause. Now, in this example, we're talking about the correction, the dip correction, that if you've got a sphere belief before you doing this, this requires a flat plane. So you're going to have to correct your sphere error and make it flat. So that's going to cause a lot of pain, because before they can do anything, move forward in anything, or ask us or quiz us about their position when triangulating with angles they've already acquired, if they want to whistle past it. But the angles, already acquired or otherwise, were acquired off a flat plane. It's devastating. I said in the pre-show, this should be marked as not necessarily a date because it's so close to the Black Swan birthday, but either way, I think moving forward, and having listened a little bit to some of the people who are actually expressing their pain in this regards, they don't have any way around it other than to first assume a flat plane. Now, once you've done that, and your claims thereafter are all based on that, it's going to leave you with a really salty taste if you're an anti-flat earther or globe believer. And it's something you can't just be unaware of or chant your way through begging the question with a justification that isn't valid. You've got to have it flat first. You have got to make it flat first. Correct it. Correct that dip that was debunked.
There is a rebuttal on the field. There is a rebuttal on the field that I've heard to this proposition, because I've put this to a couple of globers. So the rebuttal is, okay, that's a good point, but you're forgetting that all the light rays are parallel. So Brian, could you address that?
Yeah, for a start, they'd have to prove parallel light rays, which they can't, because their light is divergent. And secondly, it has nothing to do with anything, because the zenith distance up here has to match exactly the nautical mile, or the nautical mile distance on the surface, because the zenith is always in the sky, and the nautical miles are always on the surface of the Earth. So the zenith distance has to match the nautical mile distance. But it won't in this scenario.
It also seems non sequitur. So you're saying the light rays come in parallel on a sphere Earth in Muppet vision. Okay. But if you're assuming that model before we actually do anything with our sextant and make any measurements on the surface we're actually standing on, then you're going to have to correct your error in terms of where you believe a geometric mathematical horizon lies. And the correction will be making it flat so you can actually make an angle measurement. So before you do anything, even if you've got this lingering sphere belief, before you do anything, you've got to get rid of that sphere belief. You've got to correct it. You've got to do dip correction for your sphere belief. Well, what's the correction doing? Well, the correction, once correct, or once corrected, will be flat. That's what they've all got to do. So, you know, leave your sphere belief at the door. This has got to be flat first.
Gotta make it flat.
And that's why I have all of the ballers in my video that I brought out a couple of days ago, asking what is the maximum size of a tangent plane on the globe Earth model? And every one of them said it's infinite. So their tangent plane can be any size they need it to be. So they can have any size of a flat surface on their globe.
And once they've got that tangent plane, that massive flat surface that in no way correlates to the ground they believe is beneath their feet, which is curving, when they've got that vast, infinite flat plane teeter-tottering on a debunked point called a tangent on a sphere, what do they do with it, Brian? Do they have to correct that before they, you know, actually utilise any angle measurements? They have to do a correction, though, don't they, for that fundy sphere belief of an infinite tangent plane?
Yeah.
They correct it flat, don't they?
Yeah, they need it. They have to correct their claimed curved surface flat to make reality work.
So with this particular claim, the elevation angle argument, you, me, and everyone who enters into this discussion will be leaving any presupposed sphere Earth beliefs at the door. And if you don't leave them at the door, you'll be forced to correct that shit before we move further in making angle measurements, because you're going to need a flat plane for that. So, you know, your sphere belief's no good to you. It's just going to need correcting anyway, isn't it? Because it's flat. We know it. And now you know it, don't you, anti-flat earthers who watch this show? You know it too, don't you? Bless you, little cotton socks. Any more to add before I ask people to stay tuned?
It's almost like Bob knew it when he presented you the sextant challenge, which skipped the part of actually using the sextant.
Yeah, we've already got these angles from a flat plane, he didn't say. Let's move forward and figure out what we're going to do with these angles we got from a flat plane. Yeah, we'll do that for you, Bob. We'll also welcome you to Flat Earth when we point out that the angles you're asking us about came from a flat plane. Definitely. You'd have had to corrected your sphere error if you thought they were coming from a curved surface, because you couldn't have a curve meeting another straight line. That wouldn't give you an angle. That's unfortunate.
Definitely
You'll need a flat plane.
causing a lot of pain. Definitely causing them a lot of pain.
Definitely. So I can see out on the circuit. Any more for any more?
Yeah, it's tough when suddenly geometry is not compatible with reality anymore for them.
I just want to, sorry, for cutting in at the end, just before the live show, I just want to read the very last thing here again. By subtracting the altitude from 90 degrees and changing the result to nautical miles, we should be able to draw a circle of equal altitude around a GP. That means that the minutes of degree have to match the nautical miles, and the nautical miles have to match the minutes of degree all the time. Thank you.
So an area of equal altitude, not dropping away 8 inches per mile squared, not curving, equal, flat, must be, because otherwise you wouldn't be getting an angle. So with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. If you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Yeah, Yeah, none of it works for them because they need 90-degree angles at their surface, so they can't make it work. They can't even try and bend it around the curve because that means they won't have two 90-degree angles. They're 90. They have to. And the 90-degree angles have to meet the whole. As I showed earlier, the baseline of the right angle is the zenith. Is your zenith distance. So it becomes your nautical mile distance. And that baseline of a right angle always has to be flat.
Devastating to them. Devastating.
They have a few things they could claim, but it doesn't go anywhere because they have to deny certain things that they can't deny. That none of the nautical, they can't deny it when it comes to the actual practice. They can't deny it.
Joe?
And when you thought that the ballers couldn't get screwed any further, we're always proven wrong. Like, no, we could always prove more how they were wrong, it seems, over time. They must be very jealous of us.
Yeah, Arwen, who was the guy that was asking about Bob today?
Yeah. In my chat?
Which guy was it that was asking? Oh, Tim Osmond?
Oh,
Timmy boy.
Yeah, Tim Osmond did come in my chat, yeah. He didn't start out, though. Somebody else brought it up, I think. But then he popped it as well. Started to claim like that proved the Earth was spinning. So he's basically now
work that I'm just popping a question. Is he not aware of the work that Bob claimed to do after that, where he went to got differential readings, which wouldn't be possible if it was a radial spoke?
I'm pretty sure he wasn't aware of that. I'm aware of it though, and every time somebody brings up, oh, Bob's 15 degrees per hour proves the spinning Earth, it's just so annoying to me because that means that I'll have to explain in detail again how that's utterly wrong in so many ways.
Is this the same Tim that
keep
said nobody
repeating.
claims the horizon is Earth curve, and he brings pictures of the horizon?
Yes.
Same Timmy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. See this picture? That horizon there, it's not geometric, but it's still blocking things behind it.
Yeah, there's a great clip of Bob himself speaking to somebody who enters the room and doesn't realize Bob's in the room, and then begins to say Bob proved the 15 degrees to an hour, and then he gets rebuked by Bob, and then Bob goes on to explain all his other experiments. I want to say it's about a half an hour. I'll find the link for you, but I just basically spam that to anybody that says that nonsense.
Oh, Bob, no doubt.
There's a much easier way around it than that. They put ring lasers or gyroscopes into airplanes. Do airplanes account for a rotation of the Earth underneath them? No. So that's the end of that. So it doesn't matter what the ring laser gyro is claimed to be doing. If it's in an airplane and that airplane is not accounting for a rotating surface underneath it, then...
Well, I personally prefer another route of evidence, and that is, what about the other gyroscopes? What about the mechanical, physical gyroscope that is kind of like its unique trait is to stay rigid within space once it's spun up, right? It is like the primary claim, to show whether there is some reference frame differentiation going on, right? Whether there's some turning going on. Well, the mechanical gyroscopes didn't turn at all. It was only the ring laser gyro. So at that point, the entire claim falls out of the window. The entire thing. But ballers just keep repeating it anyway.
Rinse and repeat.
The precession of
there's
the
a
ring
video
laser gyro.
There's a video of an Austrian pilot, I believe, and her experience was she finally realized that her gyro never flipped over. And when she said to herself, wait a minute, if this was a globe, my gyro should have flipped over. And And then she had the epiphany, and then she did a bunch of videos and talks about it. I'll try to find that link as well.
Nice. That's always good to see that.
I remember that. I heard that lady.
Right. But it's almost like it was always an anti-flat earther joke to spread that rumor Bob's proofs 50 degrees an hour, because gyroscopes were always like even a 2015 year type of proof because of the gyroscope's rigidity, right? In relation to other reference frames. Like that's like it stands really out a lot. And we've used it to kind of prove like, no, the Earth's not spinning. Because if you spin up a gyroscope, it just stays as is. It doesn't start spinning. If you move over the Earth with the gyroscope spun up, it doesn't spin either. It just stays in its orientation. That's what it does. And so they had to do this. They had to say, oh, look, the gyroscopes proves the turn. They're really desperate for some kind of virtual win. And
Thanks,
they had
Bob.
to. Yeah, thanks, Bob. They had to do it because it was a primary flat Earth kind of proof.
I don't know
entire
why
thing.
you need all that. Apparently, you just need a football and a television.
Oh God.
There'll be a lot of
Well-
that this weekend,
Yeah,
Chocolate.
or just a Foucault pendulum. Just look at the swing of the pendulum. Oh, now imagine how the Earth is turning underneath that. Hypnotism.
Not according to Simon Dan, because he shows no drift. Thanks, Dan.
Them damn reference frames that he ruined his own. Darn it.
Yeah, Nathan, you and your reference frames are ruined. I don't have any reference frames, you dope.
It's good to occasionally go through it. We didn't have John here today to just cut me off and undermine me completely, which I totally, agree with him doing, by saying, well, you'll need half of that. If you're going to claim axial rotation, you're going to need half of that.
Of course, but by this point, they're so desperate for R, it's almost unreasonable and conversation halting to bring that up.
No,
Right?
they just lie, like Charles did. I don't need R. Here you are
Except
using.
when you don't need R.
That's what he's lying
I know,
about,
but
yeah.
you force them to lie like that, right? So it's kind of a conversation ruiner to bring up R immediately. Yeah, you'll win, but it kind of ruins their conversation, right? You immediately force them into a corner, and then you don't really get a conversation out of it anymore. You just get a bunch of stuttering and really nervous lying and stuff. So, yeah, you could do that.
I posted a photo into Master B. I think it was Master B there a minute ago, Nathan. Maybe it's Ballbusters. And there is a photograph. It's an old photograph. We've all seen it. But Wally from Australia and Wolfie and a load of other idiots, including this other guy, Arctic Reflections, and this other baller called Mr. 42. There's a load of them. They're all claiming this is the geometric horizon in that photograph. If you want to share it.
Wait. We
Where's,
found it.
what photograph? Where's the picture?
We found the geometric horizon, this elusive horizon that you shouldn't even expect to see.
Yeah,
The one
that's
that
what
we
they're
can't
claiming
even
now.
see with our atmosphere, we found that. Wow, this is no Atmo day. This is great.
Oh, it's no Atmo Day. Oh, happy days, no Atmo Day. Way.
Little bunch of clowns.
We got one.
So let's just lay it out. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, which is what is claimed to be in this image. However, we have imagery that shows the physical geometry of an Earth sphere radius 3959 has been breached, quite significantly so. Now, you only need one demonstration. That's why it's been called the Black Swan. You only have one example where what you thought was a hill in the way of something is suddenly beyond where it was the day before. Then it's no longer a hill. You can't call it a physical obstruction. If it's no longer obstructing things, it's not physical anymore. Once you've shown that once, the magic trick's over. It doesn't suddenly go back to 2015 where you start claiming you got physical obstruction at the horizon. We've debunked your horizon as Earth curve. And we are told, or were for 2 years until this elevation angle argument came up, that we're never going to see the geometric horizon. What is it, no Atmo Day? It's always refracted. We had Rumpus burning his own bridges here by declaring that he's always claimed it was a refracted horizon. Total lie. He, like this example, at one stage claimed it was a physical obstruction called Earth curve, like they're claiming with this image. Nevertheless, he had to lie because of the awkward nature of the black swan and say he'd always claimed it was refracted. What is it, no Atmo Day? Yeah, lads, no, this isn't the geometric horizon. Perhaps after 2 years you might just acknowledge the fact that we've debunked it with the black swan. No, we only need one to prove that this image doesn't have a geometric limitation called Earth curve. We've debunked it. Bless you, little cotton socks.
How did he say it though, Rumpus? How did Rumpus say it? You know it's refraction. How did he say it though?
Back in 2016 he said, you know it's refracted because of its position with respect to the horizon. End quote. The horizon being a geometric physical limitation he's trying to prove with the maths he's performing. He's trying to prove its Earth curve, getting in the way. That's the claim. That's a geometric Earth curve edge claim at the horizon, like this. However, we present the black swan, and Rumpus has to lie. I've always claimed the horizon's refracted. No, you haven't. You tried to claim it was Earth curve with geometry. Right? Blocking things physically. Blocking the Isle of Man, right? No, you always said it wasn't physically blocking it, it was refraction blocking it. Yeah, that's nonsensical, isn't it? And you never claimed it. Now you've got to lie, because we've debunked the horizon as Earth curve, haven't we? So what? It wasn't ever Earth curve, it was always a refracted Earth curve, they told us. Well, it's not geometric anymore. Bye-bye geometric claim.
And then to tell us later on that you can't even see the Earth curve because of the atmosphere. In other words, the air that we're breathing will cause us to never see the Earth curve that you claim is blocking things in the distance. Does that make any damn logical sense, clowns?
Yeah, let's just quote Planet Walk and AB Maths. We are not going to see the geometric horizon. AB Science. Nobody's expecting to see physical geometry. End quote. Planet Walk. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. End quote. The Rumpus. So what did they say this picture represents the geometric horizon? What are you, idiots? It's 2022. It's not 2015.
Yeah, this came from me making a video, and I was literally poking at them with this photograph, because I know what causes that effect, and it was proven years ago, right? The ship in the background is lower than the ship in the foreground due to a thing called tsunami wave shoaling, which is something that happens twice daily, right, at that exact coastline, which is Western Australia. It happens mostly in the countries and continents south of the equator. What it is that there's a steep drop-off of the topography close to the shore. So it's like a massive cliff underneath the water. And when the tide is coming in, or I think also going out, what happens is that it causes a welling up of the water because it pushes up over the cliff. So the water closer to the shore wells up, right? So that's why all their photographs years ago used to come from Australia and Hawaii and places, because they were the places that tsunami wave shoaling happens twice a day. Now, these idiots that I'm dealing with, I never used any calculations. I just said, that boat looks to be a mile or half a mile away from the other boat. And I was working off a completely different premise. I'm not even going to go into now, right? But my premise wasn't even tsunami wave shoaling. I was just threw that in there because that debunked these types of claims several years ago. Now, what's after happening is Wally and Wolfie and all these other idiots are all claiming now that that's a geometric horizon, and they're claiming there was no tsunami that day, right? It's like tsunami wave shoaling is, for a start, tsunami wave shoaling is just a term. It doesn't mean that there's a tsunami like the Asian tsunamis that wipe out loads of people and destroy everything. It doesn't mean that. It's a term used because of what happens to the tide and what happens because of the topography underneath the water. But these idiots won't even Google it, right? Instead, they're now claiming that that's the geometric horizon.
Right. Meanwhile, we only have one horizon. And the horizon in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator was past tense, geometric, before it was debunked by the black swan. Now we're told we wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. That's AB Maths. So Wolfie, you say, maybe you want to take it up with AB Maths Planner Walk and Rumpus, who made it explicitly clear that we're not expecting to see a geometric horizon. What is it, no Atmo Day? Nah, and is it, lads? So no, this isn't a geometric horizon. You're very much mistaken. Your own side made that clear for the last 2 straight years.
You know what really got underneath our skin is that I never researched the distances. I remember them from years ago, I forgot them. The distances to the ship from the observer to the foreground ship and the distance between the foreground ship and the background ship. I never bothered. Why would I care about the distances? It had nothing to do with my premise of my video, and it didn't matter because that's not a geometric horizon. The geometric horizon is debunked. This is an effect due to a thing called tsunami wave shoaling. So why would I care about distances and matching them to curve calculators?
I'll tell you why. Because they want it to be 2015 again, so they can argue about how the geometric physical sphere edge horizon's represented in their maths, and look where it says it's going to be, and look at the differential between the targets in respect to the geometric horizon that's blocking the thing in the background with a hidden value based on a geometric horizon that's been debunked by the black swan. Hello, it's 2022.
Yeah, but I said in the beginning of 2022, they're going to go back to space. They're going to go back to 2015 arguments. They have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, well, Black Swan debunked their physical geometric leading edge of a sphere, formerly known as Earth curve. We ask about it daily in the housekeeping questions. Do you think that not addressing the housekeeping question and then just reasserting a 2015 position that you do have a geometric horizon and it is blocking this boat in the background, when we've debunked it and been told you're never going to see it by your own bloody side, do you think no one will notice that your own side has told us explicitly that we're never expecting to see this geometric horizon you claim with this red line? No, lads, we're just going to take the piss out of you for it. You stupid idiots. Nuthouse is waiting.
Nathan, it's not debunked if you don't accept the black swan.
The black swan is based on their geometric assertion of the Earth being a sphere radius 3959 with the geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's their premise. We just show how their premise doesn't work. If they accept, or don't accept, a demonstration of how their premise they claim with geometry and are claiming with this picture, how are they getting their assertion that this is a geometric edge? They're getting it from the Earth curve geometry with radius 3959 and it's at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet if it is geometric. We've debunked that. How many times have I got to say? Regressing in your mental disposition to 2015 isn't going to help you, lads. It's just going to get us laughing at you and asking you if it's no Atmo Day.
I got some breaking news.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bob has moved on from asking what his challenge is supposed to prove to now asking what his challenge even is.
Well, we just want to know in the challenge that's already been laid out that we are very much clear on what it's asking, where they got the angle. We already know the answer, by the way, Bob. You got it from a flat Earth. The only way you could be asking questions about those degrees in that question is if you got them from a flat Earth. Game over, buddy. Game over.
It's the only way you can get them.
Did I get the answer wrong then? Or are they not? Did I get it right and they're not commenting?
I don't know. It matters not. What you were calculating was angles taken from a flat plane, Adam, weren't you? At the request of Bob, under the instruction of McToon. So the monkey presented a claim with flat Earth angles already been measured. Wow, we
What's
still
Bob
have those flat Earth
talking about
angles.
again? What's Bob talking about again? A sextant?
Yeah.
He can't do that. Ballers must deny. Listen closely. Ballers must deny the existence, the very existence of a sextant. It goes against their religion. The only way to refute that is to show an elevation angle with a curved adjacent.
Oh, there is one way around it.
No,
Get your elevation angle with a flat baseline. Once you've done that,
elevation angle.
yeah.
No, you already got the elevation angle. You can't get around that. That's part of the refutation.
No, I'm not going to get around it. I'm going to whistle past it.
No, you can't do that. Sorry.
No, I'm going to give you an angle that's already been measured on a flat plane and ask you all sorts of questions about where you might be based on that angle taken from a flat plane. I just won't mention that the angle was taken from a flat plane and set you a challenge based on that angle that's taken from a flat plane without mentioning it. That'll work.
You could do that, but you'd be an abject moron.
Oh,
Right,
that's what Bob and McToon did.
Yeah, Bob doesn't know what
geometric consideration through. You just try to sneakily force the geometric consideration through. It's a trick.
Bob doesn't know what a circle is, and on top of that, he doesn't know what trigonometry is. We already established that. So he's a dumbass cracker. Somebody kick him out.
He's the monkey.
Poisoning.
He's the monkey. The organ grinder is McToon.
McBooger Eater. Is this McBooger Eater's creation?
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. I thought, does he still have a channel?
Apparently so. I don't know. I'm not a McToon watcher. I don't know. Might not. I don't know. Anybody know if McToon's still got a channel?
Yeah, he's still going. He's not outrageous or anything.
Oh, brother.
I'm sorry, Nathan asked the question.
No, you're not reading between the lines. You're interrupting a plug for something. How dare you? It's like the most cardinal rule here.
Yeah, I swear there's a signature numpty clip on McBooger Eater. I swear it. Let me see if I can find it. So, the moral of the story, ballers, they can't even bring up a sextant, man. They can't even say the word. It's like Stalin bringing up soybean futures. It doesn't work. So they can't even say the word. They can't even imagine it. Because it goes directly against their religion. It's a paradox.
Maybe that's why they really try to bring it up all these years. Right? Because if this thing was being used on a curved surface for all these years, they probably would have brought it up at some point. Like, look, guys, we're using a curved surface to measure elevation angles. Let's ignore that completely until the black swan destroys their geometric horizon. And then all of a sudden, when we start talking about the sextant, all of a sudden, oh, yeah. It's ridiculous, man.
But they're just trying to gaslight themselves through because they knew they couldn't handle this. That's why they avoided it. But when it comes up, just like the Black Swan, remember the year of the Black Swan? Every time, oh, the Black Swan's been debunked. It's been debunked. Oh, really? Oh, why did you now just start to say that when it's a hot item? And then afterward, it's kind of forgotten again because they were only ever gaslighting themselves. It's what they do.
Yeah, stick their heads in the sand, say it's been debunked, so when 2 years later, as the case may be, they suddenly require a geometric horizon to get around a claim that needs a tangent plane that isn't actually in congruence with their curved surface they think they've actually got, so they can correct it to be flat. Well, that's the kind of process that seems like there's a sphere involved. Well, they're going to want to retain that, and it needs a geometric horizon to retain it. So they'll just say, oh yeah, of course we've got a geometric horizon. Quote, AB Science. Nobody's expecting to see the geometric horizon. We wouldn't expect to see geometry plan a walk. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. They told us. So no. 2015 is coming, as is the Nuthouse.
Yeah. I do have a report from the field on the latest rebuttal argument against the Black Swan, if you want to hear that.
Oh, can I guess? Is it refraction? That's new, right?
Oh, well, that's half right. It wouldn't be a new argument. So the new argument goes like this. So the established Black Swan is that the horizon is behind the oil rig. And the previous rebuttal is that, well, then what's blocking the bottom of the oil rig? Which, of course, the answer would be, well, obviously not the horizon, to which then they would have to concede that optical effects and refraction, or whatever you want to call it, can block the bottoms of things without the horizon being present. So they've advanced the argument to say, well, perhaps there's a depression in the water in front of the rigs, and the horizon that we see behind the rigs is actually a swell of water at a higher altitude. So not the geometric horizon at all. which of course they already previously conceded that it was an optical horizon, so the argument's incoherent.
I'm going to tell you why that won't work for them. Because in their challenge of flat earthers picking up on a false dichotomy or a burden-proof reversal, attempts to explain what the horizon is. And all of those attempted explanations, good or bad or indifferent, are listed as here's what flat earthers claim is the cause of Earth curve. Now in their column, they've only got one thing, R. That's the only reason you can have things disappearing from bottom up into the distance, because it's got behind the Earth curve edge obstruction and its geometric physicality. That's the only cause in their maths. So if they say, well, obviously we do have optics as well, nobody would be asserting otherwise. It's like, show me where they are in your maths then. Where's an angle to the target in your curve maths? Oh, there isn't one, there's just one straight line. That doesn't form an angle, it's just a single straight line in Muppet vision, orthographic view. So where is it in the maths? It isn't. There isn't anything else in the maths other than Earth curve. So if it's not claiming it's Earth curve, they can't strap on extra little bits to the maths that they haven't got. They haven't got it. It's not in their maths. What is in their maths? Earth curve only. The only cause of things disappearing into the distance, according to their sphere belief, is the sphere edge horizon we debunk with the black swan. Nothing else.
Are they claiming normally the water line is above the oil rigs? So the oil rigs are underwater normally.
Well,
no.
Evolution.
As comedic as that is,
Hold on,
anyway, I know it's done for humour, but no. You can't add ad hoc claims to the sphere Earth calculator and its claim of physical geometry at the horizon. That is the claim, full stop. There's no ancillary or ad hoc explanations that anybody can offer, because that is the claim. It's laid down for them, not so they can ad hoc and add stuff to it, no. Where is it in the maths? It isn't. We know what's in the maths, we've looked at it. R, that's it. It's all based on one thing, R. That's all they've got to claim. It's the only reason things are disappearing into the distance. If there's another reason, that means your Earth curve calculator fails. It did anyway, you didn't have R for it. We debunked that with the black swan also.
So they haven't added a disclaimer? They haven't added a disclaimer for terrestrial refraction?
Go ahead, Darwin.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, like, he hasn't added a terrestrial refraction disclaimer yet? Like, this curvature calculator works geometrically, but it doesn't take into account terrestrial refraction.
A terrestrial refraction's the same claim. Terrestrial refraction is an R-based mathematical derivation through sphere-shaped air in the maths. So when I say they've only got one thing in the column, it's R. And if you say, well, they've also got 7/6 R. No, that needs R. That's just R again.
Yeah, you're still going to need a radius.
I was just asking, like, did he make a notification, right? He should, to update. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes so pointless.
Yeah, but R isn't refracted with 7/6 R. R is just R. R is just the radius to the geometric tangent point horizon they claim when they say the Earth has an Earth curve edge at the horizon. That's the claim. Refraction, oh right, well, if you're refracting targets with respect to the geometric horizon because it doesn't quite work out on that day, then you're still claiming physical geometry at the horizon. That needs R.
Yep.
Yeah, so an interesting point is that this is actually an evolution of an argument that Bob Aruni had with Ranty back in the day, where Ranty invited him on his show to give a presentation about the Titanic, and afterwards they were talking about the Black Swan, and Bob provided that classic, second Black Swan image that the Globers put, where there's, lots of water, and you can only see about half of one of the rigs and a third of the other rig, right? And so Ranty was like, okay, when was that taken? He got the information, looked up the tidal charts that day, and it turned out that there was a tidal bore swell, meaning that the plateau from which tides and waves would be created from was higher that day, and it actually intersected, the height of the observation point. So in other words, on that day, it was a swell of water that was in the way, not the Earth curve horizon, to which Bob replies, oh, it's still the horizon.
It is. He's right. That's why as much
exactly.
Correct. So props Bob. At least he got the rhetoric correct. Because that is the case. As much as you're saying, well, that's wrong. How can it be? Well, yeah, you're right in your summation after the fact. But the reality is the rhetoric remains the same. There's only one thing in the column, Earth curve. So when Bob says, well, it's still Earth curve, that's in line with the rhetoric. It's just obviously from the outside you go, how can it be? It doesn't move with the weather. It's a physical thing, right? It's a hill in the way. The edge of the hill being the thing you're claiming the horizon is. So no. But yes, the double-speaking fundy has to then chant, no, it's still Earth curve, because that's the only thing he's got to claim with his maths.
Wait,
Yeah, I remember
are we talking
that.
about the same extra picture that actually QE posted in his first presentation of the
Yes.
Black Swan?
Also a black swan. Yes, Chocolate.
Really?
I remember that time that Bob was on Ranty's. I remember Ranty had video, or Bob had video, that was from Travis, the Plain Truth, that he had gotten earlier, I think earlier that day or earlier the day before, from that exact same location that BLMSB 69 takes his observations. But Ranty had gotten information off of Travis to do with his observation that Bob wasn't aware of. And Ranty was able to present that. And that, I remember that was the killer end of the argument.
Yeah. So at least he's in line with the rhetoric. And when you stay in line with the rhetoric, cognition dictates that you'll end up denying circles and triangles and things like that.
Well, Globers only get it right by mistake.
The best is when you'll get a globe will come in and be like, well, show me where the globe claims you can even see the geometric horizon. That's my favorite.
Oh, brilliant.
It's here in the maths marked with an X labelled horizon and a tangent point to anything claimed to be hidden by it. There you go. It's the fundamental premise of the sphere claim in the first instance. Who claims it?
Also, they
do.
Also, they might want to check their National Geographic. Seem to be subject matter experts on this, because with big globe in the front, where they describe the geometric horizon, actually define it as the visible. They even underline the visible for you guys. For you guys, because we know the horizon's visible. Apparently, you guys all of a sudden don't, and will ask us who claims the geometric horizon is visible. Yeah, you.
Yeah, it's like, who claims we're going to see drift? Well, you do. It's like them telling us, you and your Earth curve edge is debunked. Ha 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 ha. No, we never claim that. That's your claim on the globe side, you idiots. What are you doing? Nuthouse is waiting.
Where's your edge?
Well, we have a couple. We have a couple warriors, Baltard warriors in here. They're chat skank warriors. No One and Kessler. Would you like to open up your mics and discuss your globetard?
I got 2-1 odds. We don't hear a thing. Any advances? Any takers?
Come on, champion chat skanks. Boy, you're talking a lot in chat, as usual, right?
Oh, just
you're
went
freaking cowards, right? You're dumbass cowards.
3-1 against. Any takers? 3-1 against.
They're not going to bite, but it would be nice if they would. Come on, don't be shy.
Come on, No One, say sextant. You can't even say it. Flat earthers, the moment they say sextant, even before they get on to their fairy tale about the sextant, as soon as you hear sextant, stop them right in their tracks. They can't say it. They can't think it. Yeah, I don't think you're understanding this. You guys getting this? So, let me tell you. Sextant, sole purpose is to measure elevation angles. The only way in the history of the world to measure an elevation angle is with a flat adjacent. They have a curved one. So it's against their religion right off the bat. They can't even look at one, a sextant. They can't even conceive of it. If somebody says sextant, what is it? What is vampires? As soon as you show a vampire cross, that's it. Get it? Probably take 3 months for everyone to get that.
No, you have to have faith with the cross. I see your point with the sextant, though. Yeah, they can't even say the word. I agree.
Come on, chat skanks. Come off mute.
What's drawing your attention? What are they chat skanking about?
Well, Kessler thinks he's some type of scientist. Of course, he didn't even know what a hypothesis was. You know, the usual thing. And no one was on the back of Bob, the pseudoscience fallacy guy that doesn't know what a circle is or trigonometry. He was just on his back, you know, just like not white knighting, you know, just riding on the coattails of the sextant. So come off boot, no one.
Hold on. To
So
be
he was
fair to no
smurfing
one,
around.
he did explain. To be fair to no one, he did explain how to properly use a sextant. Okay, he did. Apparently, all you have to do is just hold it.
Right, and don't think about angles or flat surfaces that you're going to use in the operation of it. Just hold it and just do what it says to do. Don't think about what that means or implies. Just do it. Right?
Mistaken his penis for a sextant by any chance?
Carry on, Nathan. They're not coming off mute. They're too scared.
If somebody challenged me like that, I would be hot on the button if I had an argument.
But what are they scared about? Why don't they just? I don't get it. It's just where's your curve adjacent? That's it. Should be pretty simple, I think.
Why are they here? I mean, you can't get much globe confirmation bias here, so I don't really understand the chat skanks in the server. I mean, I don't pay much attention to the server beyond doing the live stream, so what the audience sees is what I see of the server, and that's about it. So, what are they trying to achieve? I don't understand the psychology.
Filler. This is all about filler democracy, right? They can't win any single argument. They can't even just pipe up a single word without getting completely crushed. But they can still sit there and fill up a space and give the impression that there's still a reason for the ball to be around. So that's what they're doing now. It's like their passive, silent protest. Like, we know we're wrong, but we're not going to go away. Peaceful demonstration.
Maybe they have a photograph that we're supposed to explain. And by explaining it, that means we're supposed to refer to the curve calculator.
The curve calculator? I mean, of course, that's how you get curves. You put numbers into a curve calculator, and there you go, curve, hey!
Right, I'll break down why it gets labelled, right? Starting off with begging the question. So, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator. Why begging the question? Well, because the clue is in the title. No matter what outcome you process through that methodology, that calculator, what do you think the result will be? Well, it'll be an Earth curve result, because it's an Earth curve calculator. So, Earth is already a sphere before you do anything. It's begged the question of Earth being a sphere for you. So it's a begging the question, proof of nothing. Because we don't have a geometric horizon to measure as asserted in that Earth curve calculator. So what are you measuring? Something that only exists in the maths? Something that we wouldn't expect to see? Something that nobody's expecting to see, as per the quotes from your side? Well, that's not very much proof of anything, is it now? No, that's right, it's proof of nothing. Perspective hijacking. Because the actuality of what you see with your eyes or a lens isn't represented in Muppet vision. That's orthographic view, where you see the side of your own head and the target at the same time. Well, that's not comparable to what you take with a picture or through a camera lens. You don't see the side of your own head when you're doing the maths, but you do in theirs because it removes perspective. You've got a single line between you, the observer, which you can see your own head, and the target. Well, that single line can have any value put on it you like, million miles. The target will still be 100 feet. Doesn't matter what distance it is. So therefore, when you draw out two straight lines and call it a flat plane in Muppet Vision, you go, we should see this at 1,000,000 miles. Because look, I can draw a straight line from me on the left to the target on the right and write 1,000,000 miles on the line, and there's nothing getting in the way. So they hijack what we actually experience, which is perspective, in a linear fashion, and make it comparable on the big scale to a squared function over a short distance up to about 1,000 miles. They've just hijacked perspective. So hence, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator.
Didn't a guy come in one time and was swearing that that was his observation?
Which one?
He kept saying, "You're gonna tell me what I saw," but he had to draw a picture of it, and in that picture, of his own head.
Yeah, the Muppet Vision guy. Yeah, he claimed that was my
His
view.
experience. Yeah,
while it
it's
wasn't
his
his
experience. Right.
while telling us that nobody could see like this, but I saw like this.
Yeah,
that's the
it
guy.
was an English guy. He came about 6 months ago, and he was describing how he's going up to a lighthouse in a boat, and then he starts describing it with him on the left-hand side of the page and the lighthouse on the right-hand side of the page. And as soon as you get there, you're like, well, that's not a view that you had. He's like, this is the only way I can describe it. It's like, okay, well, you're describing it without perspective.
Yeah, he wasn't getting it.
Also,
there's an official artistic practice before you render an image with, in a drawing or a painting. Okay, and it's called "What do you see?" Not "What do you know?" You don't try to impose spatial relationships. You just draw it as you see it.
Right, because if you do it that way, you won't be saying that, what are you drawing? Well, I'm drawing a clock because I'm a flat earther. What's the man next to you with the same easel and the same paints and the same view drawing? Oh, well, he's drawing a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified sphere-edge horizon. Is he? Yeah, he's a sphere believer. He can't see that clock, that's not really there. So he's drawing the mirage of the clock that he can't see, because it's been projected up from behind the Earth curve.
That would make a great arts class.
You mean the same Earth curve that we're now told we can't see, can never see, should even expect to see because we have an atmosphere?
My
sphere
bad.
in quotes.
My bad. Slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the refracted, non-physical, non-geometric sphere-edge horizon, also claimed to be geometrically blocking it and needed to be refracted up from.
Wait, so that's the visible, non-visible, or that's the visible, visible?
No,
Which
visible,
one?
non-visible. We wouldn't expect to see the visible, non-visible, would we now? We wouldn't expect to. You and your Earth curve are debunked. Chocolate.
You and your curve is ruined.
We wouldn't expect to see that. You and your claim that we would expect to see physical geometry, Mr. Flat Earther. You saying we'd see Earth curve, Mr. Flat Earther. Your Earth curve's debunked. Is it now? Right. Happy days.
That's kind of like a non-expectant mother.
Yeah, who's claiming that the horizon should block anything on a globe?
They are! It's in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, marked with an X, labelled horizon, and physically blocking things with a hidden value.
I mean, nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve, but go to Discord and check out the post I just made with horizon labeled as Earth curve. Thanks.
Like I say, all of this is going to cause pain, but there's a minor amount of plausible deniability in the person's mind through the cognitive dissonance that this leaves them with things like the black swan. That's, going to get them by just about. It was tolerable, not noteworthy. Now, I think completely differently, and like I said in this pre-show, I even sat down with my wife and made a note of this with her. I'm like, this is a noteworthy time to be pointing out, so that in 6 months from now, when the shit hits the fan for a lot of the people on the opposing side that cannot get around this argument. And even if they think they can beg the question, they have to correct it to a flat plane. You know, that's going to leave a lot of people in a lot of pain over time. And it's starting to happen already. I'm already seeing it.
Yeah, they're telling us how flat it is.
We said it a while ago. Holy shnikes, this is going to leave a mark.
Yeah. So Highlander, for example, you know, you telling me I'm not allowed to have any flat planes on my sphere? No. You know, prior to this argument, before the elevation angle argument, we were being told, no, even flat is bent. You know, if you've got a completely flat salt flat, that's actually bent. You know, it's only, you know, you at whatever given point with respect to gravity on a sphere, because everything's all spherical. Even flat is spherical. Flat is curved. That was their, or Bev's tagged this as bendizontal. So, okay, so we firmly established that even if it looks flat and you're claiming it's flat and, you know, it's always definitely spherical. Because that's the only way the maths can work. Back to, they've only got one thing in the column, R. So, okay. So we're all clear. It's always spherical, no matter what circumstance, even if it appears flat and measures flat, that's also spherical. Okay. So how did Al-Biruni utilise a flat plane to get the height of the mountain? Are you telling me I can't have flat planes on my sphere? No, that's a geometric certitude that you argue for all day long. It's a principle of a sphere that it doesn't have any flat surfaces.
Yeah, he seems shocked. Highlander seems shocked about it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that's why they call it the salt curves. Right? That's why they call it the salt curves, not the salt flats.
But they're not going to get around this.
There's a major problem with that assertion, and that's that if you have a flat spot that's etched out of a sphere, it cannot be horizontal. It actually, from your reference point, would be reciprocal. Reciprocal slopes.
Yeah,
you're
it
in
would.
the center of it.
That's correct. Based on the principle that you're always perpendicular to gravity at the top of a sphere-shaped surface, and that's true for flat surfaces being bendizontal, then if you actually experienced a flat plane on a sphere surface based on their assumptions of gravity and the way their sphere's laid out, it wouldn't actually be a flat surface. That's correct. Paradoxically speaking, they can't have a flat surface on a sphere.
Right, and and terrestrial refraction would make it seem slightly concave as well.
Exactly, they'd have a dish. It wouldn't even seem. It would seem like a dish that slopes away from you from your vantage point.
Yeah, well, they'd never be able to establish horizontal because they'd never be able to determine where or what it is within their paradigm. There can't be a horizontal. They can't claim this is horizontal because how can you?
No, they can't. But that's why QE is saying they can't go near a sextant. You know, the only thing they have to do is leave all their sphere belief at the door. And if you come through the door carrying it, you've got to correct for it. Get it flat. You've got to be doing this flat.
Yeah, but Highlander seems so shocked about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Why can't I have it flat?
Right, he's not the sharpest tool in the box now, is he, Neil? But yeah, he's getting it. So how do you think the higher-ups are going to be getting on with this? Do you think they're going to be processing it and, you know, writing it off because they stick their head in the sand and say refraction? No, they can't do that with this. All of them are in the same boat. And I mark this day and say, going forward, this is going to cause problems mentally. I'm not just saying it for humorous effect. I mean it. I'm absolutely sincere in that.
Well, they still got locally
Highlander
flat,
just
though.
seemed the biggest problem that he seemed to have was that Al-Biruni he thinks that we think that Al-Biruni was measuring the whole Earth as flat. So he was like, well, according to this diagram, which he says, oh, this is just a diagram. Al-Biruni, nowhere on this diagram does it say that the whole Earth is flat. The part he doesn't really get is like, hey, buddy, the part that he was measuring required a flat plane, so yes, that's flat.
Yeah, and when he makes his assertion utilising the horizon, the measurements include the one taken from a flat plane. So they are dependent on it being accurate as a flat plane as he measured to derive the R value. So QE, I trimmed this out and stuck it at the beginning and end of the video that I'll release over the weekend called Earth Must Be Measured Flat. QE's summary was epic. Why is he using planar trig? That's Al-Biruni is using planar trig to surmise or to conclude a spherical radius. Well, you can't do that. It's nonsensical.
You want to hear some major projection?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, this is good. I get contacted by Wolfie a lot recently for the past few months, since last year, and he does things like he wants to send me video of him with his happy family and how I could have a happy family and the type of happiness he has if I stop being a flat earther, right? These are the type of things, right? He contacts me fairly regular with these random things, right? I have to tell him to stop sending me videos of his personal life. They're nothing to do with me. But a few nights ago, I get this random message off of Wolfie saying that he knows of a flat earther, no names or anything like that, he just said this, that was saying that he was going to be, in the future, that he claimed to Wolfie, whoever this guy is, right, probably made up, that he was going to be helping the world, to help to show the world how it's flat, and he was going to be helping on news channels, I don't know, whatever else, this kind of stuff. He supposedly claimed, this random nobody person claimed to Wolfie that he was going to be doing all this stuff, helping out in the future of the world, help the world to see it's flat, and he'll be on news channels and different things. And Wolfie said, but recently he got carted away to the mental hospital, right? He said, so then I was supposed to go, oh no, maybe I'll end up in the mental hospital as well, just like this other flat earther for being a flat earther. It's like, he came at me then was, you could save yourself from this horrible fate of a mental hospital by turning away from flat earth and going back to the globe. Who do you think is closer to a mental hospital, me or Wolfie?
Convert now, Brian. It's not too late to turn back. Convert now.
Exactly. What Nathan was saying a while ago about mental hospital. These people they're heading that direction.
Yeah,
listen,
I totally
the guy
believe it.
the guy Zinda, who used to come in here and argue for a sphere, had to take a break. He had to get away because it was causing him too much anxiety. I have no anxiety. I sleep beautifully.
Good for you.
Yeah, that is projection. Absolutely correct. And this is the MO of several of them. I've heard other flat earthers describe this. They tuck you under their wing and try and convert you back to a globe. And it's like, okay, obviously converting Ranty, for example, was pain relief for somebody at some point. I wonder how long that pain relief lasted.
Well, cult leaders have to bring them back.
Well, the thing about it is that it's like I'm constantly getting these. It's so bad that I read out some of the messages I was getting off of Wolfie to my friend. My friend is a glober; he's not a flat earther, and he was laughing his ass off. It was like, this guy is you have to this guy is off his head. He thought, like, my friend reckoned that Wolfie was had marbles loose. And my friend is not a flat earther.
You're a threat to him, Brian.
Oh, I'm a major threat to Wolfie. Go on.
So when the baller is going through anxiety because of the section argument,
yeah,
yeah. Don't leave us hanging.
Am I still here? Am I still here?
Yeah.
We didn't hear you.
Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Your satellite's not working.
Well, I have an icon saying I've lost internet connection, but I'm talking to you, so I'm not going to look at that. So when the baller is anxious over the Sexton argument, is the new doctor prescription take 2 Ranties and call me in the morning?
Oh boy!
But has anybody else experienced this, where they've had some glober / anti-flat earther take them under their wing and try and convert them back to a globe? Just Brian. Okay, nobody here.
No, they still try it on me. I still get the comments every now and then. So yeah, they keep trying. They do it with everybody.
With me, it's wishful thinking. Nathan really thinks it's a globe, he knows. It's like, yeah, wishful thinking ain't going to get you out very far.
I haven't just got that treatment for Wolfie, I've gotten it off others. Now, Wolfie is the most prevalent, obviously, but I've gotten that taking you under the wing stuff, and I'll explain the globe to you so you can see where you've misunderstood, and then you can come back to the flock or whatever. I've had that lots of times. I get that a lot, actually.
Oh, he wants to read you a story time. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, a lovely globe story.
Dude, that's straight out of like Gestapo and communist socialist republic tactics, where you endorse the imprisonment or hospitalization for mental issues for dissenting opinions. So that just shows the nature of that man's character quite clear.
Hold on, are you going to now parallel with what I've said? Because I'm not suggesting that people should be mentally incapacitated. I'm saying that the mental anguish that this will cause, and I'm seeing exhibited by our opponents, will lead them into the mental hospital. Not that they should be committed, or that I'm in any way suggesting that people should be locked up or committed when there's no need to be. I am suggesting that it will cause mental pain.
No, he's just stating that the type of behaviour that Wolfie is displaying is the type of behaviour that where Wolfie, let's just say, would quite happily put me in a mental hospital if he had the power to do so, just to get me out of the way. Quite happily.
Yeah, it's quite vindictive from the anti-flat Earth side, you know, and they express it and get away with it, which maybe will change. I mean, from what I'm being told on the grapevine, that is now changing. So about a year ago, I was like, it's only a matter of time before the essentially bullying and vitriol that we suffer as flat earthers won't be tolerated indefinitely, in my opinion, by YouTube. Eventually, they'll catch up with it and go, no, this is at a societal level, and indeed YouTube terms of service level, not tolerable. So when you hear, all right, this person's not getting monetization and this person's being demonetized and that person, on the anti-flat earth side, you're like, oh, right, well, clearly YouTube have caught up with it eventually. You know, what they do to flat earthers, anti-flat earthers that is abhorrent. It's pretty disgusting behaviour. And at a societal level, because it's aimed at flat earthers, it seems, or it was, maybe that's changing, I don't know, acceptable. Well, you know, if you step back and go, how is this person just treating a fellow human being? You go, that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I have to say that I get a lot, and I get, not that I have gotten, I still get it right up to the present day, a lot of racism, a lot of attacks for being Irish. Not that I care, because that means I'm winning, but I get a lot of that.
Typical Irish baby.
Good lucky charm.
Give it out, snowflake.
Where's that rainbow lead you? Some treasure? Come on, Brian.
Bloody Irish, always feeling victimised and moaning.
Always moaning about something.
Well, the pain will only get more as this argument develops more, because this is just the first part of it. What's coming in the future, there's no return.
You mean it's going to get worse than they can't even say that the sexton exists?
What's coming is so bad for them. They better get on the life raft now, or else they're going down with the Titanic.
I don't think you could get any worse.
No, I like your formulation of that. They have to stay away from that word sextant.
Yep.
But there's other words. There's other words that are coming that are going to have the same result, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm surprised the
you guys know
progressed.
if you're experienced with kids. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you guys know, like, if you had experience with kids and stuff, like, they come across these words which are so taboo that they feel this expression, they have to write them on walls or in their notebooks, and then they giggle. And, you know, one of those words used to be sex, S-E-X. So now it'll be sextant.
Shh, don't say it. Right.
That's a different angle to that argument. Well, what's happening is...
Tenth man, I've noticed that almost all the globe arguments can be reduced to psychological childhood development protocols, you know, like object constancy, the one where you're supposed to get your worldview from your parents, but they put them in kindergarten and tell them it's a globe. Like all these things, it's so pervasive in the whole deception.
Yeah, but if you heard Chocolate and my story, they're very similar. We rebelled against all that for some reason. Those are the very things that make me do what I do. I have been fighting it since the beginning. So it didn't affect me because I realized when my teacher said, I don't believe it, I just got to teach it, that just opened up freedom for me, that they're lying.
Me too, but I got sent to the back of the class.
Me too.
Well, we know why, so don't keep talking or else you get sent back to the chat. No, what's going to happen, and Nathan's right and QE's right, they can't say sextant, and because you can't argue it once you do, because you're going to lose. And Nathan's right, the pain's going to get so much worse that it's going to be unbearable for them, because when they go to their counterparts, the ones that think are going to bolster them and hold them up, those counterparts are going to say, you can't get an angle from a curved adjacent. What are you talking about? And when that starts happening more and more, and then the other arguments that haven't even been heard yet on the other topics that have the same tight argument as the sextant does, they're just going to be devastated. Well, I mean, who are you going to go to if you're a baller?
Yeah, but why do you think, since you brought up the school system thing, why do you think that some people, when the teacher puts water in a bucket and whirls it over a head and nothing spills out, that more than half the class goes, "Ooh," and then some like me say, but the water's inside the bucket. It's not on the outside of the bucket, like on a globe.
No, it's
You're not
just
supposed to
gravity.
be that logical.
It's just trying to describe you how a presumed force of gravity can be in all directions, right? It's a simulation to make you understand how gravity could work.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the bucket without gravity.
It's not an
just a
emulation of the
teaching.
Earth.
It's just a teaching of further fallacious reasoning.
Exactly.
That's all they're doing.
It's a false equivalence. It's a false equivalence to what they're claiming. They're saying this is how gravity works, then they give you a false equivalence demonstration. That's all it is.
You wouldn't have the bucket without gravity. Without gravity, the bucket would just float off.
No, but the function for that test, that supposed demonstration, is to help you imagine how things can fall in not just one direction, as we typically experience it, right? Even overlooking relative density. But that's just the base understanding. It's just to show you, no, see, because of centrifugal force, it's all uniformly forced in that direction. And that's how we claim gravity works.
I'd like to comment on what Neil said.
I'd just like to comment on Arwin, given that was a better explanation than the teacher ever gave me. Not bad at all.
Well, that's how they told it to me, right? But I was always inquiring. I was always asking, so how? What is this supposed to prove? And I had good teachers.
That's funny. I never got that example.
Neither did
I didn't hear that nonsense until Flat Earth. Until I started hearing Globers trying to explain gravity. And I was just like, that's not what gravity is, but okay. But I never heard that in school. Like, that's crazy.
So to comment on what Neil said, there was a study done and they asked me to be a part of it when I was in sales to see what made salespeople become salespeople, and common denominator. So when they went to recruiting, they isolate to that certain group that the study would show have the better chances of making it. So they asked all these questions, and then the guy doing that wanted to build his office, and he just wanted to spend time with the right people so that he wouldn't be wasting time with the non-salespeople. And so when it came to me, there's only one thing: freedom. I want freedom. I want to be my own boss. I want freedom. Now, for us in this genre, it's truth. We want truth. That's what we want. So people in the class that don't want truth, they're thinking of recess and bubblegum. We're thinking, I'm searching for something in this life. I want my life to count, and I want truth. So those are the people that come. Well, that's the common denominator of our panel. It's obvious, isn't it?
Well, they just want to get a pat on their head and get a good score, right? So I experienced that too because I was the troublesome kid that would always keep on asking deeper questions. Not even because I thought it was all fake, but because I was taught to do it like that by my parents, and I took that mission very serious. You always have to inquire further. I have the intelligence, I have to use it. And I would even, I would even entertain the globe. I never really let it sink in that it might all be wrong at that time. So it's just inquiring further, and the teachers would then answer me, and everybody would pay attention. And then I thought, oh, I'm really good because everybody's really paying attention. But I didn't effectively know that I was being tricked at the time, right? It's just how it works. It's all natural.
Yeah, I got to go. I got 20 trucks on my property working. They're going to shut the electricity down. So we'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you then.
All right, son.
Good weekend.
Peace.
Right? But my attitude back then, what it typically caused, and the teachers used this, was, they basically told me, look, this is the teachings we have in order to demonstrate the model, right? They never really told us, it's only a model, it's not real, it's not proven. They would just leave that part out and just say, we have incomplete data, but a smart guy like you might be able to, over time, help us figure out how to explain it better and how to get it even more right. So that was given to me. It's probably the thing that kick-started Baldwin, right? And if only good memories of it, those were proud days for me. So,
You trying to get your 10,000 words out?
Yeah. He's almost
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry. Sheesh.
Mark Taylor.
Oh, really?
Mark Taylor is in RVC. That's an old-time name right there. Back in the day.
Get him on.
Marky.
You'd rather hear Mark Taylor than me? Is it that bad?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
If you just chat, Mark's normally a pretty good person to have a chat with, actually.
Marky, come off moody.
If he doesn't, I'm going to round out.
No, I still want to ramble on.
Is that so?
Yeah, because I wanted to say, look, I was basically tricked back then
Oh,
for a
God,
long
don't
time
launch into the
to
same thing.
figure out what is
Please,
gravity.
God, somebody, Mark.
Because they didn't understand it, right? My teachers told me the complete knowledge of gravity is kind of incomplete. We got the Newtonian model, but it doesn't really work. And we got the Einsteinian model, but it's all mathematical. So it's even the teachers in their own way didn't have a full grasp, didn't have the full understanding that they were teaching false teaching. They were still under the assumption that it was a work in progress.
But
And then they just encouraged everybody to help. So help us figure this out. And I bought it back then.
Okay.
That's it.
I got a great question for the ballers that they can think about after this show, an application to Al Baruni and specifically to Highlander. And if you could answer this question correctly, I'll pay the fee for Brian to do a debate with you. How did Al Baruni account for the inverse slope that he created when he imposed a flat plane onto a sphere?
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smashing the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a day! What a lovely day!